So much. Thank you so much. YouTube, welcome to the show. Great to have everybody, and we trust that you will stay with us until just about 10 o'clock. We have much to talk to you about, and we're working on the other platform. If you are used to that one, then come on over here. We will be happy to have you. Good night to you, Charmaine. Good night to you, all the persons who are joining us here. I know that we're having a little bit of challenge, but so it is. We can work that through. All right. Let me see what is happening. What is happening here? All right. So last Wednesday, the Prime Minister of Jamaica celebrated with the labor rights the 96th birthday of the most honorable Edward Seaga. And I want to spend a little time tonight reflecting on that, because I think it is important to place in context where we are tonight. I have in my hand the record achievement of the Jamaica Labour Party, but I want you to listen to the Prime Minister as he speaks about Mr. Seaga. Listen to the Prime Minister.
At the National Heroes Park. We gather at the National Heroes Park in reverence and gratitude to honor the memory of the Most Honourable Edward Philip George Seaga, former Prime Minister of Jamaica, patriot, parliamentarian, scholar, cultural custodian, institution builder, and a servant of the people of Jamaica. Today marks the 96th anniversary of his birth. It is fitting that we come not only with flowers, but with reflections. A floral tribute is a simple act, but it carries deep meaning. It reminds us that a nation must...
Sorry, you were saying something?
We gather...
Caroline? I'm not on the other page, you know.
I understand, but I sent a request for you to join here, even though it's on the restrictions.
Oh, I've kind of turned it off. So you want me to turn it back on?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining. Asking everyone to tap the screen, share the live. We're asking you to send the heart me's. It's important you send the heart me's, please. So look at the top of the screen. You see that says join. Please join and send the heart me's.
All right, great. Okay, let's go back to the Prime Minister talking about Mr. Seaga.
At the National Heroes Park in reverence and gratitude to honor the memory of the Most Honourable Edward Philip George Seaga, former Prime Minister of Jamaica, patriot, parliamentarian, scholar, cultural custodian, institution builder, and a servant of the people of Jamaica. Today marks the 96th anniversary of his birth. It is fitting that we come not only with flowers, but with reflections. A floral tribute is a simple act, but it carries deep meaning. It reminds us that a nation must pause to remember who labored before us, those who gave shape to public life, those who through conviction and sacrifice helped to build the Jamaica we now inherit. Edward Seaga was one such man. He belonged to a generation of leaders who entered public life when Jamaica was still defining itself. Independence was not yet complete in spirit or structure. The institutions of nationhood had to be imagined, designed, tested, and defended. There were no easy templates. There was no finished road. There was only hard work of a country to build. One law, one agency, one policy, one community, one generation at a time. Mr. Seaga understood that independence had to be forged. He understood that sovereignty required institutions that could endure. It required people trained for work and citizenship. It required a culture strong enough to withstand shocks, recover, and grow even faster. It required discipline in government, confidence in enterprise, order in public life, and a clear sense of national purpose. That was the core of Edward Seaga's public philosophy. He believed that Jamaica could not drift into greatness. It had to be organized for greatness. His mind was unusually ordered. He approached public problems with method and seriousness. He studied before he acted and spoke. He listened, recorded, compared, and designed. He had a rare capacity to see the connections between the immediate and the long term, between the condition of a community and the architecture of the state, between culture and economic confidence, between youth training and national productivity, between order and opportunity. This is why his work remains visible long after his time in office. But today, I want to reflect not only on what Edward Seaga built, but on the temperament he brought to national service. He took public life seriously. He believed politics was not a theater for applause, but an instrument for national development. He could be combative because he cared deeply about ideas. He could be exacting because he believed that details mattered. He could be firm because he knew that leadership sometimes required decisions that were difficult, unpopular, and misunderstood in the moment. Yet beneath that firmness was a deep and abiding commitment to Jamaica's people, especially those whose lives were marked by poverty, exclusion, and limited opportunity. His long representation of West Kingston was central to his career. It shaped his understanding of the Jamaican state. It kept him grounded in the daily realities of working people. It reminded him that national development could not be measured only in macroeconomic indicators or major public works. It had to be measured in whether young people found a skill, whether families found shelter, whether communities found dignity, whether ordinary Jamaicans felt that the country had a place for them. We gather at the National Heroes Park in reverence and gratitude to honor the memory of the Most Honourable Edward Philip George Seaga, former Prime Minister of Jamaica, patriot, parliamentarian, scholar, cultural custodian, institution builder, and a servant of the people.
All right, so that's the Prime Minister. Last week, Mr. Seaga celebrated 96, his 96th birthday. Mr. Seaga would have been 96. The Prime Minister led the tributes, and it made me pause. It made me pause because history isn't just about dates on a calendar. History is the house we live in. And Seaga was one of Jamaica's chief architects. Edward Seaga was one of Jamaica's chief architects. Jamaica has gotten two brilliant prime ministers, and both of them came from the Jamaica Labour Party. Edward Seaga and Prime Minister Andrew Holness. You know, the question is asked, what makes a nation? What makes a nation? It is not geography that makes a nation. It is not borders on a map. A nation is built on ideas. A nation is built on choices. A nation is built on the courage of people who dare to draw the blueprint when everyone else is just living in a rubble. And Seaga's contribution was legendary. Mr. Seaga was not just a politician. He was a builder. He was a builder literally, and he was a builder figuratively. It is by no means, cheap means, you know, that Prime Minister Holness is called the builder. That's a take-off from Eddie Seaga. We have the Jamaica Development Bank, the National Housing Trust, the Urban Development Corporation, UDC, JAMPRO. Yes? He looked at West Kingston, Tivoli, and said, these are not slums to manage. These are communities to develop. The word urban renewal in Jamaica has fingerprints of Seaga all over it. Urban renewal. You know, the Aristotle's idea of a city exists for the good life. Seaga believed development wasn't just GDP numbers, but it was roads, houses, jobs, and the dignity for man, the dignity for the man on the corner. He understood what politics without bricks and mortar was about. Seaga was not just about thoughts. He had a significant impact on Jamaica's politics. Let's be honest. He was also a fighter. The 70s and 80s, the Cold War era, ideological battles. He stood for free enterprise, for Jamaica's choosing its own path, for no more garrison to the mind. His brilliance was what we needed. His brilliance was that he saw politics as the war of ideas. I mean, you remember the debates between himself and Manley and Pattison. Love him or disagree with him, he forced Jamaica to debate. What kind of economy do we want? What does independence really mean after the Union Jack came down? Seaga disturbed the comfortable.
Asking everyone to repost the live, please.
He made us choose. And nations only grow when they are forced to choose. So look around you today. The highways, the financial sector reforms, the idea that Kingston could be redeveloped, even the way we talk about economic growth and social equity. That was Seaga speaking 40 years ago. When you listen to wholeness, and wholeness is encapsulating of the Jamaican idea, the Jamaican dream, that Seaga 40 years ago, he was brilliant because he taught in 30-year terms. Seaga was thinking in 30-year terms when elections only last for 5-year cycles. Eddie Seaga planted trees he knew he wouldn't have sat under. That's the definition of a statesman. As the old African proverb say, a society grows great when old men plant trees whose shades they know they shall never sit under. You listening to me over there on YouTube, you are sitting under a tree that Eddie Seaga planted. You here on TikTok, you are sitting under a tree that Eddie Seaga planted. And that brings me to his protege, Andrew Holness. Because a protege isn't a photocopy. A protege is a continuation. In Andrew Holness is a Seaga continuation, you know. Andrew Holness is almost Seaga reincarnate. If you believe in reincarnation, then the spirit of Eddie Seaga is upon Andrew Holness. Andrew Holness is completing what Seaga never got a chance to complete. Holness walked through the door that Seaga opened. If you're a laborite, you need to know about Eddie Seaga. Because in Andrew Holness, you have a Eddie Seaga. I am a firm respecter of Edward Philip George Seaga. He was a massively brilliant man. The door called Young People Can Lead. Ideas matter than age. Seaga plucked Holness from student politics. You have Holness today because of Eddie Seaga. Those of you who love Andrew Holness, those of you who admire Andrew Holness, you have Seaga to credit for it. It is Edward Seaga that plucked Andrew Holness out of student politics and said, this one has the mind for nation building. Seaga saw in Holness what many in the party today did not see, you know. As a matter of fact, I tell you this. When Bruce Golding decided to leave the Labour Party, Audley Shaw was the man expected to take over. But Eddie was alive. And Eddie told Bruce Golding, Andrew Holness is the man. And you know the history, you know the story. Because Holness was challenged, you know. There were many in the Labour Party, many today, that are sitting in the cabinet of the Jamaica Labour Party. Never gave Holness a chance. Never gave him a chance. They felt that he couldn't beat Portia. And Holness did it. And that's why Seaga showed up when Holness won that election. That's the continuation, the protege, the builder Wholeness housing programs, roads, economic reform, same build-up DNA. Wholeness has the DNA of Eddie Seaga in him. The thinker. Wholeness is not only the builder, but he's the thinker. Wholeness talks prosperity. That's how he introduced himself really into the consciousness of the Jamaican reality. Prosperity. That's the Seaga's doctrine. The digital Jamaica. The same way Seaga talked industrialization, self-reliance. Different language, same question. How to make Jamaicans owners, not just occupants. The same battles that Wholeness is fighting were the same ones Eddie Seaga fought on behalf of the Jamaican people. Seaga was a fighter. Seaga fought ideological battles. Wholeness fights structural battles. Crime, debt, climate. Different enemies, same courage. Seaga was a courageous man. He walked into West Kingston when shots were firing and stood up for his people. Seaga came out of bus stop. Wholeness came out of Seaga. Same courage. The Labour Party is in safe hands because the spirit of Eddie Seaga is still alive in Jamaica today. All hail Eddie Seaga. Yes? Big up the man. Big up the man. Let me play something here. Let me play something here. Because Mr. Seaga deserve this. Eh? We are here, John Bisco.
So
you're a Seaga Labour right. We're going back to the Wholeness Labour right tomorrow, but this is for the Seaga Labour right. All Seaga Labour rights, big up on yourself and say shower.
Equal rights and justice is our everlasting song. Unity and progress will make our nation strong. Stand up for your rights.
Yes.
When you hear the bell, stand up for justice. Hear the freedom bell. Remember Bustamante, we serve you well. Stand up, Jamaicans, when you hear the bell.
That's for all of the Seaga Labour rights. Let me tell you something. I could spend 10 hours talking about Eddie Seaga, the fighter, the builder. But here is the twist. A true legacy is when the student surpasses the teacher. The greatness of Seaga is that Wholeness passed out Seaga in terms of performance. Your son must always come and be greater than you. I see my son. Oh, he's doing well. I'm struggling. he's still going. Wholeness is a protege, and that is the greatness of Seaga, that he saw Wholeness as the man to lead Jamaica towards economic independence. Seaga laid the foundation. Wholeness is called to finish the house. We'll say that again. Seaga built the foundation. Wholeness is going to finish the house. And I want to say this to the Labour rights listening to me on this platform tonight. You have a responsibility to protect the legacy of Edward Philip George Seaga. You protect that by keeping Andrew Wholeness in power so that Andrew Wholeness can finish the work of building Jamaica land we love. That's the Seaga's vision. It's not a PNP vision. It is a Jamaica Labour Party vision. And wholeness must be kept right where he is so that Seaga's vision can be realized in this beautiful country called Jamaica. Seaga 96 reminds us that brilliance isn't about being liked by everyone. It's about being necessary to your time. Mr. Seaga was not perfect, and there is no perfect architect, but he drew lines on paper that became roads we drive on, houses we live in, and an idea of Jamaica that we are still arguing about, which means we are still building. So tonight I want to say respect due. Respect due. Let's ask ourselves the Seaga question. What am I building that will outlive me? Because that's how we honor the architects. Not just with tributes, but with bricks. Show up to all the Seaga laborites in the house. Can I take you a little deeper? Before Mr. Seaga became Prime Minister in 1980, Jamaica was in a Cold War inside a hot climate. Let me tell you this, listening to me. Mr. Seaga is responsible for Jamaica not being owned by the People's National Party. The People's National Party would have captured Jamaica and made it into a one-party state. The 1970s, Michael Manley pushed democratic socialism. Cuba, 90 miles away, the CIA, the Cold War, slogans, polarization, the fear of many Jamaicans was real. There were people downtown that sold out their businesses for pennies. Man run we left them car. People give up their houses. Man run we left them wife at Jamaica. 4 flights a day was the thing. Jamaica was being captured. It was to be turned into a one-party state. The PNP was going to rule Jamaica and rule over Jamaica. And all of you listening there to me tonight need to thank that time Wholeness was a boy, born in 1972, and Eddie Seaga kept this democracy. The democracy we have today, lay that credit at the feet of Philip Edward George Seaga. He was the leader of the opposition. Before that, he was the Minister of Finance. But his greatest fight, the greatest fight that Seaga got into was not on the economic front. It was on the ideological front. He became the chief voice, arguing that Jamaica must choose free enterprise, private ownership, democracy with dissent. Your history is important, and there are many people in this country running behind the PNP, following after Mark Golding, and they don't understand that the only party in Jamaica that has stood up for the people is the Jamaica Labour Party. The only party. The PNP has never stood up for Jamaica. In the 1970s, Mr. Seaga was the chief voice arguing, fighting for Jamaica to choose free enterprise, capitalism, private ownership, democracy with dissent. But I can take you even further, because I know the Seaga history very, very well.
Asking everyone to repost the live, please.
I know it, because that is what brought me into politics, and that has what has caused me to be an admirer of the Jamaica Labour Party over the People's National Party. I've never really admired the PNP, never. John Stuart Mill, you see, said that liberty is the ability to choose wrong. Seaga's argument was that even if socialism sounded good, it removed choice. There were those in the party that felt that Seaga was anti-democratic. They were wrong. Many believed that his greatest achievement, that is Eddie Seaga, wasn't road or building. It was helping Jamaica vote in the 1980 election to stay in democratic capitalist lane when the whole Caribbean was tilting left. He didn't fire a shot. He fought with ideas, and the people chose him overwhelmingly in 1980, and that kept Jamaica from going left. That is why even opponents say, love him or hate him, he saved Jamaica from becoming a one-party state. I want to repeat that. Many of you are young people, and if it was not for Eddie Seaga, Jamaica would have probably been a one-party state governed only by the People's National Party, as is happening today in Cuba. But I will tell you something that all Jamaicans must know. In 1983, the People's National Party called for an election. They were ahead in the polls, in the Carlstone polls. They had won the local government election, and Bobby Pickersgill was pressuring Seaga to go back to the polls. Seaga called a snap election in 1983, and the People's National Party did not contest. You know what was the result? Seaga won 60 seats in Parliament. Seaga had total parliamentary power. No opposition, no checks. Mr. Seaga could have changed the constitution and made Jamaica a one-party state. Seaga had 60 seats in Parliament. Seaga could have extended his term, rewritten the rules, but he didn't.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet
Equal rights and justice is our everlasting song. Unity and progress will make our nation strong. Stand up for your rights when you hear the bell. Stand up for justice, hear the freedom bell. Remember Bustamante, he served you well. Stand up, Jamaicans, when you hear the bell.
Did you hear what I said? Eddie Seaga had 60 seats in the parliament. And Seaga could have changed the constitution, and he didn't. Patriotism is tested not when you have no power. You want to talk about absolute power? The only prime minister in Jamaica that had absolute power was Edward Seaga. Patriotism is tested not when you have no power, but when you have it all. Seaga governed, but he didn't gut democracy. That man could have gutted the democracy. He still called elections in 1989 and accepted defeat. Many people in Jamaica don't know that. That Seaga never had to call any election in 1989, because he had 60 seats in parliament. He could have changed the rules and stayed in power. And Seaga called election in 1989 and lost to the People's National Party. And you know what is fascinating? He never got back into power. And many people vilify that man. A man of integrity. Seaga could have never had to call any election in 1989. And he did. And accepted defeat. And remained in opposition until his death. That's what the philosophers call the test of the king. The test of the king. The man who has power but doesn't become drunk on power. Many say that restraint is what makes him a patriot, not just a politician. He proved, Mr. Seaga proved, that power wasn't the goal. Jamaica was. And when you see people like Mark Golding today voting against Nara, you know those men are not patriots. Jamaica had a patriot in Mr. Seaga. Power was not the goal. Jamaica was the goal. But no reflection is honest if we skip the pain. And this may make some of you labor rights ball. Because Seaga suffered at the hands of political tribalism. The same political tribalism that is affecting his protege, Andrew Holness, Seaga suffered. Seaga suffered. And you see the PNP, you see the People's National Party, they must stay in opposition for a while for what they did to Mr. Seaga. See that man on your screen? That man on your screen? Edward Seaga, the man who planted trees he never sat on. You see that man on your screen? There is no one in Jamaica alive that should not pay homage for him. He is a great man, that white man, Edward Seaga. He's a great man. The People's National Party, for political reasons, weaponized his background. Light skin, uptown, mixed heritage. They painted Mr. Seaga as not really a Jamaican. Let me tell you something. You couldn't get more Jamaican than Edward Seaga. And you know this country here, you know a man came on here last night and said that the PNP, boy, I mean, I tell you the truth, I can't even repeat what he said. Jamaican people kind of, they're backward, you know. Jamaican people have a little bit backwardness about them, man. Because I don't understand how that was sold in Jamaica. When Seaga, you know what Mr. Patterson said? That if he came down off the platform and walked among the people, he would know the difference. You know? This is Mr. Seaga, you know, say Mr. Seaga, a white man. They painted Mr. Seaga as an American. The monster from Tivoli. There were posters, songs, rhetoric. It wasn't just policy debate. It was personal. It was race and class used as weapon against him. That's what Frank Fanon called colonialism lives on when we colonize each other's identity. Colonialism lives on when we colonize each other's identity. And look at today, the same People's National Party have as their leader a man with a colonial identity in Mark Jefferson Golden, a white man who has to be proving his identity. And all know Jamaicans don't even know where he was born. That's who the PNP have now as their leader. Colonialism lives on when we colonize each other's identity. They turn his difference into a dagger. They turned Mr. Seaga's difference into a dagger. And it was a wickedness from the People's National Party. And Jamaicans, for some reason, bought it. But here is the irony. Here is the irony. The same man they called outsider spent his life building houses for outsiders. In West Kingston, he lived among the people, fought for them. I remember one time, the police were in West Kingston. Shots were being fired. And Mr. Seaga came on the Breakfast Club. And when Anthony Abrahams asked him, "Where are you, Mr. Seaga?" he said, "I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving West Kingston. I am staying down there. I'm going down there with my people." Shots were firing in West Kingston, and Mr. Seaga was on his way down there, walking into the shots, standing up for his people. I heard Mr. Seaga on the Breakfast Club crying, breaking down in tears, a bawl on radio. Said they are down there and they are unaliving his people. They call him an outsider. Fought for his people and died among them. Vilified as a monster, but many in Tivoli Gardens still call him father today. That's the tragedy of politics. The builder gets labeled destroyer because it's easier to hate a man than to debate the man's idea. It's easier to hate a man than to debate a man's ideas. Seaga could not lose any debate on ideas. You remember his budget speech about Sea Island cotton? They labeled him a destroyer because they hated him, because he was a man of ideas. They say a man is measured by what he leaves behind. Not by the noise he made while living, but by the silence that stands after he's gone. Edward Philip George Seaga, an architect who never waited for permission to draw. I saw Andrew Holness went down to Coronation Market last week. That's Mr. Seaga. He saw a Jamaica of zinc fences and called it urban. Mr. Seaga saw boys on corners and called them contractors. That's why we have heart. Seaga saw a nation just 14 years free and said, political independence is pretty words until we have economic independence. That's the wholeness mantra, economic independence. I wish Jamaicans would see the vision. Guys, can we understand what is happening? That we have two political parties in Jamaica. One has never been for the development of the country. They are tribes. The People's National Party is a tribe. The Jamaica Labour Party is a movement. One is a tribe. The other is a movement. Join the movement and never the tribe. All of you comrades listening to me, join the movement. Lego the tribe. Tribes don't build. Tribes rock or break. Movements builds the nation. Two political parties in Jamaica. One is a builder, the other is a breaker. Aristotle said, a city exists for the good life. Aristotle, a city exists for the good life. Seaga said, then let's build the city. If you are going to have a good life, you have to build the city. That is what Wholeness is doing. Building the city so that the people can have a good life. You can't have a good life if you don't build the city. While others debated ideology, Seaga poured the concrete. While others shouted slogans, Seaga sketched highways. We need protecting Jamaica. Moderator, maybe tomorrow. He believed ideas without bricks are just wind. Look at Portia Simpson Miller Square in Kingston. Do you drive downtown Kingston? Do you go downtown? 10 years ago or 15 years ago, it would take you 1.5 hours from 6 miles to 3 miles. Wholeness came in and in his first term, built the overhead, fixed 6 miles. Those were plans that were drawn up by previous administration and placed on the shelf. Tribes don't build. Seaga gave us shelter, structure, savings, scholarship, sovereignty, the 5 pillars. And I believe that these 5 pillars are really what drives the Jamaica Labour Party. Shelter, structure, savings, scholarship, and sovereignty. JDB, NHT, UDC, JAMPRO, not just letters, legacies. He spoke the language of capital. Formation in a land that only knew consumption. He taught a post-colonial people that owning a share was more revolutionary than owning a chant. You notice that the PNP only come with chant? Time come. Don't stop the progress. Blood and fire. This is a chant. That's how tribes operate. They operate on the emotions. They are driven not by ideological postures that move people towards prosperity. They chant. You notice they are comedic. One by one, they go into jail and they laugh. That's what they're about. They're not about building the nation. A post-colonial people must own a share that is more revolutionary. The Jamaica Labour Party is into revolutionary ideas. The PNP is into chant. Mr. Seaga was thinking in 30-year cycles, not 5 years election cycles. That's how the PNP thinks. The PNP only thinks in 5-year cycles, what we can do to win the next election. But you can't build a nation when your mind is on the next election. Can't work. The 1970s tried to make Jamaica choose between God and government, between ballot and bayonet. Seaga stood in the fire and said, choose liberty. Choose dissent. Choose wrong if you must, but choose. And in 1980, the people chose. The supporters of the Jamaica Labour Party know that was a great victory. They vilified him, called him an outsider while he slept in Tivoli, painted him as a monster while he built houses for the same mouths that cursed him. Philosopher Socrates spoke about truths get crucified before it gets crowned. Truth gets crucified before it gets crowned. You see what they're doing to wholeness now? You know what is the difference? You and I are alive and we are educated. We see through the malaise. We see through the hypocrisy. We see through the propaganda. And we have decided that what they did to Eddie Seaga, they must not do to Andrew Michael Holness. And that is my message to the Jamaica Labour Party and its supporters. What they did to Eddie Seaga, and to a lesser extent to Bruce Golding, they must not be allowed to do that to Andrew Michael Holness. They try to paint Holness as a thief while he's there trying to help Jamaican people achieve prosperity. Truth gets crucified before it gets crowned. Our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ hung on a cross for nothing. He was an innocent man. But the crowd shouted, crucify him. Crucify him. And that is what wholeness is undergoing in Jamaica today. Where is it coming from? The tribe and those aligned to the tribe. But they are not interested in the nation. They are interested in themselves. Today, the same streets they said he destroyed still stands on the foundation he laid.
Asking everyone to repost the live, please.
Power, he had it all. 60 seats in Parliament. All the seats in 1983. He could have been Jamaica's king. He chose to be Jamaica's caretaker. This man could have been Jamaica's king, and he chose to be Jamaica's caretaker. Seaga was not wealthy, wasn't a rich man. Gave all he had to his people. He governed, then he gave back. That's not weakness. That's patriotism. Because a true statesman plants trees he'll never sit under. The trees that you are sitting under tonight in Jamaica, remember they were planted by Edward Philip George Seaga. And that is the same thing that Andrew Holness is doing today. Andrew Holness is not building Jamaica for today's Jamaica. Andrew Holness is building Jamaica for the generations that follow. The roads that are being laid down today are not roads for us. their road for our children and our grandchildren. That's what statesmen do. That's what leadership is about. Mr. Seaga is in the grave, but we are sitting under the trees that he planted. Did you know that in the Bible, there was a man by the name of Elijah? And Elijah was buried, you see. And they were throwing away the body of a man. And the man fell on Elijah's bones and came back to life. It's called posthumous. Posthumous. Long after you're dead, your life can continue to make others live. And today, his protege, Andrew Holness, walks the same blueprint. Walk on, Mr. Holness, walk on. Walk on, Mr. Holness, walk on. For you are walking in very good shoes. Very good shoes, and you have done very well. Seaga's boots were not easy to fill, but my God, you're impressive in how you have filled them. If Seaga were alive, he would have been very proud of you, Andrew. Same attacks that he came under, you are under. But guess what? You have the strong backing of many, many labor rights all across the world. Eh? Walk on, brother Andrew, walk on. Andrew Holness is not a photocopy, you know. He's a continuation. Same builder hands. Same thinker mind. Same fighter heart. Holness is a fighter. Don't take him simple, you know. He's a fighter. He has dismissed Portia, dismissed Peter, dismissed Mark Bolin. And if they come with Bunting, he go dismiss them. Or don't matter who they come with, he will dismiss them. Holness has beaten 3 PNP leaders. And he will go down in history as a prime minister that never lost. Well, he only lost one election in 90. Well, it wasn't even his. 2011. He's not a photocopy. Holness is a continuation of Seaga. Same builder. Same thinker. You listen to Holness talk, there is no parliamentarian in Jamaica today that has the grasp, the understanding, the intellect of Andrew Holness. None. He's a cut above the rest. He's a fighter. Because he wants Jamaicans, owners, not occupants. Andrew Holness is fighting to make Jamaicans owners, not occupants. So at 96, Edward Seaga whispers to us from history. And Seaga whispers, don't just wave flags, lay foundations. That is the whisper of Seaga. Don't just lay flags, lay foundations. Don't just win elections, win future. That's the difference between the PNP and the Jamaica Labour Party. The PNP just win elections. The Jamaica Labour Party win futures. Don't ask Jamaicans, don't ask what Jamaica can do for you. But ask, what are you building that will outlive you? For the supporters of Mr. Seaga, tonight, we don't just say, rest in power. PNP said that, eh? We say, respect due Father Eddie. Respect due Father, Papa Eddie. You are the band leader. Because monuments crumble, Monuments crumble. But blueprints build generations. Respect Papa Eddie. Sleep on, brother. The Jamaica that you dream of is now emerging. The Jamaica that you dream of is now emerging. As I close, 25 minutes after 8 o'clock. As I close, the road not paved. The road not paved. I did something today that I found to be interesting. In preparing to come on here tonight, I did what is called a projection. What if Seaga had won in 1989? What if 1989 had gone different? What if the people said, finish the house, architect? What if Seaga got a third term instead of 18 and a half years of PNP rule? It's what you call the road not taken. Robert Frost calls it the road not taken. Frost said, it makes all the difference. And I want to walk that road with you tonight. The road we never took. You see where we are at? You see where we are at tonight as a nation? We must never make that mistake again. You see the builder that is building, you see the architect, he must finish the house. The road not taken. Now all of them comrades tonight are not going to like it, but it's true. Because I'm not interested in politics. I am not interested in politics. I am interested in patriotism. I am not a politician. I am a patriot. The road not taken. The architect that is building Jamaica must finish the job. And I am telling you, Jamaicans, finish the house. The house called Jamaica must be finished. And that is not a political statement. (1989) to 1993, call that the consolidation years. Seaga's engine was just warming up. Remember, there were structural challenges on the Seaga. The JDB was funding factories. The UDC was drawing up New Kingston. The National Housing Trust was just 13 years old. Let me give you the projection. If there were no policy reversals, no stop the IMF. You remember when PJ said, Tata? Wake up, the Jamaicans, man. Wake up. Wake up, now, my people. God bless you now. Wake up now. Wake up, Jamaicans, wake up. What are we going to do? Neighbor rights? Neighbor rights? What are we going to do? to get our people to wake up. What we are going to do? Wake up, Jamaicans. Wake up. Just wake up. 1989 to 1993. Let's call that the consolidation years. By 1993, Jamaica would have had a third port city. Seaga was already surveying it. We'd be 20 years ahead of some countries in the Caribbean. The financial sector would be deeper, less fragile. Mr. Seaga hated debt addiction. The 1990 debt crisis would never have happened under Seaga. Urban renewal would have accelerated. The Tivoli model. You know what the Tivoli model is? That communities were to have started at the womb and they end at the tomb. Did you know that? That communities were to be so designed in Jamaica that little children receive their social development, socio-economic development, nutritional development from they were in the womb until they go to the tomb. Seaga plan for the people of Jamaica from them in the belly so till then go in the grave. Because continuity breeds capital. Investors don't like flip-flop. What would Jamaica have looked like had Seaga won a third term? That is where history hurts. That is where history hurts. Because between 1989 and 2007, we had a massive debt buildup in Jamaica. The financial sector collapsed in 1996, creating FinSAC, the greatest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich that occurred in Jamaica since slavery was abolished. Monies from poor savers, poor borrowers were transferred to the rich. That is a documented fact. It's not politics. And Mark Jefferson Golding was an advisor to the then Minister of Finance. He advised in the setting up of FinSAC. Would never have happened under Seaga. That is where history hurts. Seaga's obsession was export or die. Less consumption, borrowing. More production, borrowing. We likely wouldn't have hit 160% of debt to GDP by 2003. He was pushing for coal, then LNG. If we had locked in LNG in 1995 instead of 2016, our light bill today would be 30% lower. All of you out there cussing about your light bill. Your light bill high. Blame it on the PNP. That alone changes every factory maths. I wonder if you know that. I wonder if you know that if Seaga had won a third term, your light bill would have lower today. Jamaica would have been the Singapore of the Caribbean. That was not just a slogan for Mr. Seaga, you know. With earlier logistic hub, earlier LNG, lower debt, drag, we would have been looking at a per capita income of maybe $10,000 to $12,000. We're arguing now about which next highway, and we're now arguing about which pothole to fix. And I will tell you something. A third term for Seaga means the Jamaica Labour Party would not be so fractured in the 1990s. Bruce Golding would probably not have left. Holness would have still rise, but inside a stronger institution. Less tribal, more technocratic. Pillars before posters. History is not just about what happened, History is also about the weight of what didn't happen. For 18 and a half years after 1989, Jamaica stopped to change drivers. We changed the blueprint mid-construction, and a house with 3 different architects always has cracks. So tonight at 96, we don't just mourn the man. We measure the gap. We measure the gap. The gap between the Jamaica he was building and the Jamaica we had to build. The gap between a Jamaica that was going forward and a Jamaica that packed down and broke down. That gap is not an accusation. It is a question for all of us. And the question tonight is, do we finish the house or do we change the architect? Do we withdraw the plans again? Because blueprints don't die, but they gather dust. What type of Jamaica do you want to live in? Do you want this house to be finished? Do you see in Andrew Holness a competent builder? Do you see him as a competent builder to finish the house? Seaga supporters believe this. He wasn't perfect, but he was consistent. Seaga was consistent. And consistency over 40 years builds a nation. Jamaica cannot afford inexperienced architects. We cannot afford inexperienced masons and carpenters. Because for sure, Holness has proven that he has the experience and that he's a damn good builder. So will you allow him to finish the house? The house that Seaga wanted to build, that PJ come mash up. Because in 1989, the house was not completed. And democracy is about continuation. PJ took the blueprint and he messed it up. And Holness comes now and he picks it up and he says, let's finish the task. Let's complete the house. And he says to Jamaicans, give me a chance. uh, the road not paved. History hurts, you know. History hurts. Hello there, Casey. How you doing?
Equal rights and justice is our everlasting song. Unity and progress will make our nation strong. Stand up for your rights when you hear the bell. Stand up for justice, hear the freedom bell. Remember, Bustamante, he served you well. Stand up, Jamaicans, when you hear the bell.
All right. They say a man is measured by what he leaves behind. Not by the noise he made while living, or the silence that stands after he's gone. Edward Seaga is the architect who never waited for permission to draw. He saw Jamaica as a zinc fence, but he called it the urban center. Saw boys on corners and called them contractors. Saw a nation just 14 years free and said, political independence is pretty words until we have economic independence. Fascinating story. Moderator, if I have calls now, I'll take them.
Yes, I do have guests at YouTube, so could you go to your guest at YouTube?
Who is over there?
I think you have Chuck and Joshua.
Who do we have?
Chuck and Joshua.
Chuck. Okay.
Listeners, could you please tap, share, and repost, please?
And don't forget this when you hear it, man.
Good night to you, YouTube. How you doing, sir?
Good night, neighbor.
Hi, Chuck Finley. How you doing, man?
I am doing excellent, sir. How are you?
Well, I'm fine, Chuck. I thought tonight it was appropriate for the program to pause and look at Mr. Seaga
Recognize the great man.
at 96. Chuck, what is your view on Seaga?
My view on the great Edward Philip George Seaga is every generation, every country end up with a transformational leader, a revolutionary leader.
Yes.
We had that in Edward Philip George Seaga.
Yes.
His greatness was cut short.
Oh, yes.
Not because he wasn't doing the job, but because we have a people, not just today, that prefer to gather around the noise rather than the dream. They prefer the noise. They gather around the loudest person in the room rather than the person that has something to offer.
Yes.
And that is why Seaga's was cut short. You mentioned that it is called the road not paved. I prefer that.
Yes,
because the road not taken is a different book than what we want to remind us of. Jamaica missed the beat in 1989.
Yes, Chuck. And am I not correct that we have not recovered from it?
We have not recovered. Neighbor, there is no recovery. Whatever we do now.
I want you to make that point again, because I think people need to understand that when you give a man a job to do, and when the man is doing the job well, because remember what Seaga had to fix to put food back on the table in 1989, Struck.
Let me give.
Yes, go ahead.
Neighbor, the period between 1980 to 1989 in Jamaica's history is known as the period of Reconstruction.
Yes.
We were coming out of an economy that was wrecked. Unemployment, we had over 250,000 unemployed people in Jamaica. Inflation was at 45%.
45%.
45% was inflation
And when you talk
between
about
1979 and 1980.
Let us explain that. You're talking about the movement of prices.
The movement of prices. The value of your dollar. Inflation between 1979 and 1980. 45%. The economy we had an economy that was in decline from 1974. I remember 2 years prior to that, our economy was growing at 18.5%. 18.5% in 1972.
Yes.
To -5 in 1974. The period of Reconstruction that Edward Seaga led from 1980 to 1989 saw Jamaica on the verge of realizing its promise of being the real jewel in the Caribbean. Seaga built a manufacturing sector in Jamaica that was second to none.
Yes.
Not even the oil-rich Trinidad could compete with us in our manufacturing sector. Jamaica used to make everything we need here in Jamaica. Most people don't know about Jamaica used to have its own battery.
Yes, sir.
We used to build batteries in Jamaica. Now,
yes,
neighbor, think of it today. A factory that is building battery. Imagine the possibility if we had that factory today in Jamaica building batteries for electric cars.
Yes, sir.
Jamaica, when we buy trucks overseas, we used to only buy the chassis. The body used to be built here.
Right here in Jamaica, sir.
Right here in Jamaica. Fridge, stoves, all those things used to be built in Jamaica in 1989.
And therefore, Chuck, when 40,000 businesses closed in the 90s, you don't recover from that.
We don't recover from that.
Never will we recover from it.
Never will we recover, neighbor, because even if we build back to a certain point, we should have been 40 years ahead at that point. So we will never recover from what happened to us in the 90s.
Yes.
Never. Neighbor, in 1989, we had a trade deficit with the Caribbean of over $3 billion.
Yes.
This means the Caribbean countries, including Irish Trinidad, was spending $3 billion more with us annually than we were spending with them.
Yes.
By 1989 coming up, Trinidad were able to tell us that they are not, what was the term she used again? They're not an ATM machine.
Yes.
Yes, that's where they were able to face it with us. Say them are no ATM machine, we can run to them when we need things. That is what we miss when we miss Edward Seaga. And when you mention the demonization, neighbor, I lived through the period in the neighbor. I see it and I know. I gotta give you, there is a thing in the police force now, neighbor, where the persons that work in the protective services, they're on a different radio channel than the regular police. Do you know why that is?
Tell us.
In 1997, was it 97 one? That same attack that you speak of earlier, when Seaga was ordered to leave Tivoli and he said he will not.
Yes.
It wasn't called a hot mic then, but it was captured on the radio where the command was given, and excuse me language, the command was given that they should take away the bodyguard's radio and kill the fucker down there.
Oh my God.
Referring to Edward Seaga.
That command was given.
That command was given. Take away the bodyguard radio and kill the fucker down there.
My God.
Neighbor, if I am lying to you, I am dying right here.
My God.
That command was given. That is why today protective services is on a different radio channel than the other. Because they didn't know that get out, and we know.
What you saying to me, sir?
The man was so demonized in the country.
I heard him on the Breakfast Club bawling, you know, sir.
Yes.
That morning,
that he will not leave his people.
That he will not leave his people, yes.
He will not leave. The great incident when they say he was given free passage. He was escorting police out. A simple incident where he was walking up Darling Street, see one whole heap of police lay down on the ground and him stand up. Mr. Adams, what you doing here? I am under attack. Who will attack you? Stand up right, guys. Mr. Adams, who will attack you? Shoot out, because they never shoot out or me now get shot and me stand up. And that was the great story now. He's offering them safe passage. To neighbor, this man was demonized.
Yes, sir.
And people were taught to hate him.
Yes.
There is a young man right here.
Why did Jamaican buy that story, though, Chuck? What does it say about us? That we bought it.
It was at a time when Jamaica got their news from Lindos Road and North Street. There was no other news source in Jamaica.
Media-controlled opinion.
Media-controlled opinion. Yes. Only Lindos Road and North Street was the only two news source. We didn't have any social media. We didn't have any option. And those two entities are the entities that demonize Seaga.
Oh my God.
Those two entities are the entities that demonized him.
Yeah. Speak a little, Chuck, to the fact that here was a man that could have changed the constitution. Here was a man that could have become king of Jamaica. And I say to people that Seaga never had to call any election in 1989, you know, because he had all the seats. He could simply have adjusted the constitution. But he chose to call elections, Chuck, and lost.
Neighbor, at a time when Edward Seaga had the ultimate power in Jamaica, he took legislation to the parliament to reduce the powers of the prime minister. To curtail,
not to mention the current charter of rights that Jamaica has.
Yes.
Piloted by Seaga.
The Edward Seaga recognized the danger of the use of the state of emergency in 1976 when the country was under a state of emergency for 1 year. And Seaga put it in law that no prime minister can declare a state of emergency for a year. The longest you can do for is 2 weeks. Yes, that move now haunt the Jamaica Labour Party in 2018 when we were trying to curb the monster crime. But it was there for a reason, because people like Pernell Charles, Babsy Grange, those people were, Babsy Grange was exiled out of Jamaica. Pernell Charles sat in prison for 1 full year without a charge.
My God.
Edward Seaga was on the list of people who was to be arrested. The only reason why the Governor General at the time said, I will only sign this if you take off the leader of the opposition name. And that is why Seaga wasn't arrested in 1986. Many Labour Party, even the lowly poll workers of the Jamaica Labour Party, was locked up and released at 5 o'clock on election day in 1976. Neighbor.
You hear that, you listeners? You hear what is happening here?
The lowly poor workers, people who are just indoor and outdoor agents, locked up.
Yeah.
Released at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, Chuck, there is a view that one of Mr. Seaga's greatest achievement is that he saved Jamaica from becoming a one-party state. Is that not correct? That had he not fought the ideological war of the 70s, maybe Jamaica would have gone communism, and today we would have been like Cuba.
It's not a maybe.
Maybe.
It's a definite yes. And a trip to the Kremlin, Michael Manley offered up Jamaica as the next, not if, but now maybe now, the next thing the state in the Caribbean.
Say that again so the listeners hear you.
Michael Manley on a trip to the Kremlin, where he accompanied Fidel Castro, offered up Jamaica as the next communist state in the Caribbean.
So what we enjoy today as democracy,
Seaga
saved that.
Seaga saved us. Everything was in place. The ship that came here from the USSR, Moonstruck, that bring all the weapon here, they were ready to take over. People tell every day you hear people tell you about CIA action in Jamaica.
Yes.
Ask them about the KGB's action in Jamaica. The CIA was not only the KGB had active ops in Jamaica. So they tell you every day about CIA, ask them about the KGB. It was Seaga in 1981, I think it was, that exiled many Cuban agents out of Jamaica. They were here. They held position. Seaga exiled them out of Jamaica when he came in.
Yes.
Yeah, but we were robbed. And I don't think many young people understand. When you speak of the development plans, neighbor,
yes,
Seaga had written on paper, you can go down to UDC and find these 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, and a 20-year plan. After 5 years, we should be here. After 10 years, we're going to be here. And after 20 years, we're going to be here.
Yes.
Nothing. You speak of Tivoli Garden. Tivoli Garden was the model that all communities across Jamaica would be built based upon. As you say in Seaga's own word, your community must serve you from the womb to the tomb. The only time you should have left a community is when you're going to university. That is the only thing you would have. Basic school, primary school, high school, every community.
What a Jamaica we would have had.
What a Jamaica.
Oh,
what a Jamaica it would be.
Isn't that a sad thing? It's not a sad thing for us to reflect on. Isn't it sad for you?
Yeah, but it is sad for me who knew the plans. Lots of young people today, neighbor, even though we are living in the information age, are still not aware of the contributions of this man. I wanted to tell you, there's a young man right here on social media. He's now a supporter of the Jamaica Labour Party. And he will tell you that growing up, he hated Edward Seaga. He said when his mind changed about Edward Seaga was at the funeral when he heard P.J. Patterson speak. And he said, no, this could not be the man. I lie PJ tell, I can't the man when we hear about this. And he went and he did research on Seaga's contribution to this country. And he was in amazement.
Yeah.
Many of the things we enjoy today, including our culture, our music. Seaga fight to give us a culture. Seaga fight to give us a movement. Seaga fight to give us national heroes for us to look forward to. Heritage Week is Seaga. When Seaga was trying to bring back home the body of Marcus Garvey, the PMP said not under the dead body.
Oh my.
Can't happen. The famous blood for blood and fire for fire speech that them used as a part of the demonization was at when he brought back the body of Marcus Garvey and they were interring it at Heroes Park. And he was giving the speech, and Manley and his crew was in the crowd. And every time Seaga tried to speak, them ball out, blood, blood, fire, fire, blood. And Seaga couldn't get a word in.
Yes.
Because they were disrupting the process of the interring of our national hero. And when Seaga get angry, Seaga said, "I think I will not alone bad. You not test me, it's got to be blood for blood and fire for fire."
Yes,
But
and
that
that was
the
used,
only
that was
part-
used against him.
Thank you, that is the only part that was reported.
Uh-huh.
The provocation that led up to it was never reported.
Yeah.
And that cost us our development. That set us back. That what Seaga did in 10 years, not even 10 years, 9 years. And remember now, it's even less. Remember in 1981, when he just took office, we had Hurricane Ali. 1981, we had Hurricane Ali.
Yes.
And Seaga build a country around that. Form the right partnerships and raise us, bringing back the investors, the same one that Michael Manley told in the 70s that there is 5 flights a day. If you don't like what me, I don't leave.
Yes.
That's what he told the investors in Jamaica. Many of them run left them house, nearby good house, nice 3-4 bedroom houses, people run left them, not even lock them up, run left them.
I know, sir. A man downstairs told me he got a nice car for maybe what? I think $10 or something.
$10.
Man
People
left the car park a roadside and take gone.
Just a run,
Just a run. Yeah, I know the store looking back. A man bought for $4,000. $4,000.
Yes, just a run, not looking back. When Seaga came back in the 80s, Seaga told the Jamaican people, so listen, as Jamaicans, we need to start owning banks.
Yes.
Seaga tell the people, banks, Jamaican to start owning banks. Jamaican to start investing.
In other words, he wanted to make Jamaicans owners, not occupiers.
Owners.
Yes.
The PMP destroyed every single Jamaican-owned bank in the 90s. Not one stood after them done with it. When you think of tourism, neighbor, every single hotel from Orchurius to Negril Point used to be owned and operated by Jamaicans in the 80s. If you find one where Jamaican own, now you find enough.
Yeah. Finally, for you, Chuck. The protege, Andrew Holness, because Seaga plucked him from student politics and said, this one has the mind of nation building. What do you have to say about his foresight of seeing in Holness someone who could carry on his legacy?
It's the genius of the man. Simply put, the genius of the man. That he picked that man and said, this is the one. This, of all the people around him, this is the one that will continue the legacy. And neighbor, I remember in 2016, during that brutal campaign against a popular Portia Shimsemila.
Yes.
When we had our mass meeting.
You had your doubts at that time, eh? Did you?
No, neighbor, I was confident in that election, neighbor.
All right.
Yeah, neighbor, because I never miss a meeting, even for about 2 years straight. Remember, Andrew toured the country while in opposition, and I was at every meeting, neighbor. When we had that meeting in Half-a-Tree, and they brought out, mass meeting in Half-a-Tree, and they brought out Edward Seaga, his last public appearance for the party. And they brought out Edward Seaga on stage, neighbor. True labor rights, like myself, we had tears in our eyes.
Oh
because
my.
Seaga knew from that day that his party is back to what it was under Andrew Michael Holness. His party was back. Remember, as much as we might rate Bruce Golding,
yes,
Seaga knew that Bruce wasn't the man to take over from him.
He said it.
Yes, he wasn't the man. If it was up to Seaga from those times, when he stepped aside, Andrew would have taken over the party. If it was up to Seaga, but it wasn't up to him at the time. Luckily, his legacy still finds its way to the top. And we are now reaping the benefit. And we are seeing even the genius of Andrew Holness coming out when he plucked Nigel Clark out of nowhere and put him in the finance ministry.
Same type of thinker.
Same type of thinking. When he now, look at now, Andrew Marks.
Yes. Keith Duncan.
Yes. Can you imagine a Duncan being a Labour Party senator?
Could never imagine that, sir.
No one will ever imagine a Duncan sitting on the Labour Party side of Parliament. Never.
Yeah.
Nobody.
What do you think, Chuck, that Jamaica Labour Party supporters can do to ensure that the builder finishes the job that of building Jamaica, and to ensure that we do not suffer another delay? How do you think we make sure that this happens this time? Because the knives have been taken out against Holness.
Neighbor, we have been doing it.
We have
been defending the name. Neighbor, there has never been an attempt to destroy a name like there has been to destroy the name Andrew Holness, neighbor. It's been since 2010.
That's the PNP's playbook.
That's their playbook. Destroy the leader of the Jamaica Labour Party and the party will perish. They did it to Seaga. Remember, them used to tell people every day, say, Buster dunce, Buster can't read.
Can't spell bread.
The leader. Buster can't spell bread. That is how them destroy leaders. Them tell everybody knows Seaga no, remember, Seaga, one of the most damaging election campaign was My Leader Banya, you know.
My God, that song.
That song, My Leader Banya, was an attack on Edward Seaga. And they did that to him. They rip him apart and they turn people against him. Neighbor, we will not. Labor rights today is a different crop of labor rights today. If we had this crop of labor right back in the 90s, Seaga would never be in opposition this long. These labor rights we have today.
I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy to hear that.
Neighbor, we are fight for the name Andrew Holness.
Well, I'm happy to hear that.
When you see neighbor, some little people on Instagram and TikTok can take on the largest media conglomerate in the Caribbean.
Yes.
That's what we are take on. That's what we are fight. We are fight institutions. We are fight people with names. We don't have no name. So when we are call out people like Janet Calder and them people who have name, who say them have esteem, we are fight, we're punching above our weight, but we're coming out on top because our party is in its third term and is making preparation for the fourth.
Yes, sir. I think that this job must be finished and completed.
Must be finished, neighbor.
Must be finished. And Chuck, I don't even want us to frame it as a political argument. It's a patriotic argument.
It's a patriotic argument, neighbor.
Yes.
Because we saw what the other person did to this country when they had it in better times than now.
Yes, sir.
During the 18 years, neighbor, we did not have any major hurricane. We did not have any major war. We did not have anything. But we still lost 40% of our GDP.
Oh God,
we lost 44,000 business.
Yeah, I wish we could go up to Dovecut and Medares. And wake up some of our brothers and sisters that died as a result of that change in 1989.
Yeah, I tell you, those are the times when 1,000 murders a year become normal in Jamaica, neighbor. 1,000 murders a year was normalized under what is today the longest serving national security minister to ever held that post.
Yeah, and the quality of life in Jamaica today, Chuck, the struggles that people have. And when you listen to the old hypocritical comrades them talk about prices at the pumps and all of this, they need to understand that it is because of the mismanagement of the economy, right? That they presided over. Why we are where we are today.
Why we are where we are today.
Right? You talk about wage Minimum wage wouldn't be at $17,000 now, Chuck. It would have probably been at 30,000.
Neighbor, a minimum wage discussion would not be on the table right now had we not had that 18 years at the PMP. Nobody in Jamaica would be talking about a minimum wage.
Yeah, we would be the Singapore of the Caribbean.
We
Imagine.
would be the Singapore. People would be looking at other countries and say, be like Jamaica.
Is
They're
it
doing it
possible,
now.
Can we do it? Can we do it?
Not we will, neighbor. That's where we are going. That's what we are fighting for.
So
we will do it.
The fight, Chuck, is for a better future for Jamaica.
It's not for me, neighbor. It's going.
Yes.
I can't enjoy it again, you know. But
Oh,
it's to my
God.
children. They must inherit a better Jamaica than I
In other
did.
words, we were robbed of
We
the
were
influence.
robbed. Yes, we were robbed, neighbor. The country that we should have inherited was
We
the
were
one that would have
robbed.
been built in the 90s. It was never built.
We were robbed of our
We
future.
were robbed of our future. So what we can do now is make sure we hand over something better to our children for the next generation to build on. And that is what we are fighting for.
In other words, Chuck, there is no Jamaican alive today that should admire the People's National Party.
Not one, neighbor, not one. No well-thinking Jamaican should be even thinking about PMP.
Because the quality of our lives tonight would have been much better had it
would
not
have been far much better, neighbor. Would have been far much better, neighbor, had it not been for that 18 and a half years of mismanagement. And the persons that was responsible for it, neighbor, are the ones now standing on platform
and
telling
seeking
us,
power. And
not only seeking power, neighbor, telling us that those were the best times in Jamaica. A little country the size of Jamaica lost 44,000 businesses, lost 40% of its GDP, and you, as a rich man who benefited from those times, are now telling us that it was the best time, neighbor. How detached from reality could Mark Golding be? How detached from reality could PMP supporters be to stand, listen to that man, and then cheer and applaud when he says that? Knowing that that was a time when our country, when our future was set back. I remember times gone in the 90s in the neighbor when NHT built 1,000 houses, the lines from National Stadium to Crossroad for you to have a chance to get one.
So
Yeah.
true.
Not exaggerated in the neighbor, literal lines from National Stadium to Crossroads to be an attempt to get one.
Yeah.
His neighbor.
Boy, Chuck, it's nice talking to you here, man. Really
As
great.
always, neighbor, as always.
Really great talking to you. Keep up the fight.
I not giving it up, neighbor. We'll be at it.
Very much
Not giving
admired
it up.
how you go about this. Fantastic. Scratchy, I'll come to you next. I know that we have some other guys online, but bear with me tonight. We have much to talk about. Scratchy?
Good night, everyone. Night, neighbor. Blessed night. What's up?
Scratchy, how you doing?
Hi.
I'm here, neighbor. I'm here listening. I'm cool.
Okay, Scratchy, you are part of the West Kingston constituency. What's your take on this this Seaga, the man who planted seeds he never sat on? How do you remember him?
Neighbor, I have a lot of memories with Mr. Seaga, neighbor. Mr. Institution, neighbor, as we call him. You know? So Mr. Seaga, neighbor, is, even though he passed away, neighbor, Mr. Seaga will go down, neighbor. As the member of parliament, neighbor, for all of us who live in West Kingston, neighbor, we'll always remember Mr. Seaga, neighbor. How Mr. Seaga stand up for us, neighbor. And how Mr. Seaga build us, neighbor, brought us build a constituency, neighbor, where we didn't need to go outside of that constituency for anything, neighbor. We are the largest market district in the English-speaking Caribbean within our constituency, neighbor. We have ATM machines, we have banks, we have polling age home. We have basic school, we have primary school, we have high school. Everything was like, it was like a filter system, neighbor, that he built for us down there in that constituency, neighbor. And we must have a neighbor that we have to always love, and we have to always respect and admire Mr. Seaga, neighbor. And, you know, a lot of us, neighbor, told Andrew Wallace, neighbor, yes, we know that Antonis is the highest of his neighbor and say, okay, Antonis is the greatest prodigy that Mr. Seaga brought to us neighbor, but what you mean neighbor, Antonis is not the greatest prodigy that Mr. Seaga brought to us neighbor. I think Mr. Seaga met Antonis neighbor as a bright young man. He saw the vision in his neighbor as a bright young man coming out of university at the time. But I think Mr. Seaga's greatest prodigy neighbor is Desmond Mackenzie.
Oh,
Because Desmond Mackenzie had been around Mr. Seaga from Desmond Mackenzie was 13-year-old neighbor. Yeah, from Desmond Mackenzie was 13-year-old Mr. Seaga and Desmond Mackenzie around him neighbor. And to see Mr. Desmond Mackenzie become the best mayor Jamaica has ever seen, the best local government minister Jamaica has ever seen neighbor. I think neighbor that Mr. Desmond Mackenzie is the greatest prodigy neighbor. When you look at Desmond Mackenzie right now neighbor, and where Desmond is coming from, if you come from West Kingston neighbor, you will get a better understanding of Desmond background and where Desmond is coming from neighbor. And Mr. Seaga neighbor is single-handedly responsible neighbor for who Desmond Mackenzie is to the neighbor. Make Desmond Mackenzie from a child at 13-year-old neighbor, groom him to a certain level, and look at Desmond Mackenzie now. That is why you say it is so difficult. And that's why you see Mr. Desmond Mackenzie and the Prime Minister and Jones neighbor have this share this great bond and this great relationship neighbor, because they are both coming out of the school of Mr. Seaga neighbor. And I must say neighbor, enough respect to Edward Seaga neighbor. He's the one who brought sports in our constituency neighbor. He was the football team neighbor. When we won Premier League titles under Mr. Seaga neighbor. He was the basketball team. One basketball competition under Mr. Seaga neighbor. He was the bands neighbor. Like the community of constituency don't have a bands. That was as a result of Mr. Seaga again neighbor. And I grew up neighbor and trying to see my grandparents neighbor dancing, coming out with Mr. Seaga. You know? Yeah, I grew up neighbor seeing my grandparents neighbor Mr. Seaga dancing, coming out together. Because you know my side is from the St. Thomas and they were came to West Kingston from in the early 60s neighbor. As a result, so that's where the family trend started. So I know Mr. Seaga very well neighbor. I know him very well too neighbor.
Oh.
Someone that I have seen a lot. I know how much work he put for us. And neighbor, PNP paid this bad image on Mr. Seaga neighbor, where as if Mr. Seaga was this evil man neighbor who pushed violence neighbor across the entire part of our political landscape. But I can tell you neighbor that Mr. Seaga wasn't like that.
Oh.
Because there was a PNP constituency in my country, there's a PNP community in my constituency neighbor. And I can tell you neighbor that if it wasn't for Mr. Seaga, that PNP community would be standing right now. But Mr. Seaga stand up for that community neighbor. Mr. Seaga gave that community a lot of resources even though they are PNP. So Mr. Seaga wasn't a one neighbor who victimized persons neighbor because of their political allegiance. They were case in point neighbor. If you look at even Portia Simpson neighbor, Mr. Seaga has a lot to also deal with neighbor of the Portia Simpson growth and development neighbor. Portia Simpson came into the politics and saw Mr. Seaga. He nurtured her neighbor. He gave her a lot of words of encouragement. He showed a lot of things neighbor. And she propelled to be Prime Minister of Jamaica neighbor. So we can say, look at even Babsy Great. So we can say, neighbor, that Mr. Seaga neighbor is responsible neighbor for a lot of persons' future in our politics in Jamaica. And he wasn't one neighbor who judge you because of your political allegiance or your political side. Because I can tell you, West Kingston, we have PNP communities, and I can call the company name to the country by the name of Anatone neighbor. And the love that Mr. Seaga had for Anatone. A lot of labor rights for the time neighbor was wondering why Mr. Seaga loved Anatone so they did not vote for it. But despite that, they weren't voting for us neighbor. He still shared a whole lot of love and respect for Anatone. And when you look at communities like Denantown, communities like Fletcher's Land neighbor who are strong Labour Party supporters, these communities didn't manage to get a lot of schemes built up like Tivoli Garden neighbor. But despite these communities have a lot of schemes neighbor, it was during Mr. Seaga time, I remember neighbor, Mr. Seaga went around and created a project where we removed all of the pit latrines from these communities neighbor.
Yes.
Fletcher's Land, yes neighbor, Fletcher's Land. Then I told neighbor, these communities were giving bathroom, concrete bathroom stuff to neighbor, black tank and tap. With proper toilets and flushing toilets and everything. Mr. Seaga did that as opposition leader. I don't know where we got the resources. I don't know where we got the funding neighbor. But Mr. Seaga was responsible neighbor for getting rid of latrines within Denantown and Fletcher's Land neighbor. And even PNP communities like Anatone and those places neighbor, they look at red scheme and blue scheme in Anatone neighbor. Mr. Seaga did a lot of work towards the development of those community neighbor. So, PNP neighbor, and Mr. PJ Potter's neighbor was someone who attacked him, but it was so sad neighbor that when Mr. Seaga passed on neighbor, he would listen to the speech that PJ Patterson gave neighbor after the passing of Mr. Seaga. You could never believe neighbor. You would get them to get an understanding and know that okay, it was just a political ploy to play on person's mind and trick to make Mr. Seaga look bad neighbor because of his complexion neighbor and try to brand him as a white man who don't mean us good. But I can say neighbor that Mr. Seaga, what Mr. Seaga meant for us as Jamaicans neighbor, a lot of persons who are black who came to them come from the garrison, who came to them come from the dirt neighbor, they never have Jamaica based interest at all more than Mr. Seaga neighbor.
Yes.
The advancement, the plans that he had in place. Sports. When I look at the sports,
Tell me a little bit about this. Tell me a little bit about this womb to the tomb idea that came out of Tivoli Guards. What does that mean?
The womb to the tomb neighbor from out of Tivoli Guards neighbor was basically Mr. Seaga was saying that you can stay right within your area and achieve every single thing that you need. You don't have to leave this constituency to achieve nothing.
And that is what he wanted to replicate across the different communities in Jamaica.
Yes, neighbor, because the reason why you see a lot of communities, the reason why Tivoli Garden in particular neighbor, West Kingston neighbor, was seen so different neighbor than a lot of other communities and constituency neighbor. It was because neighbor, it was a constituency neighbor that Mr. Seaga had a plan where a constituency or community was built on social enterprise neighbor.
Yes.
When I say social enterprise neighbor, a lot of the money that we generate, that we earn in Tivoli Garden and West Kingston neighbor, we didn't have to go outside of our constituency to spend that money neighbor. That money was being spent right back within our circle neighbor. Right back within our own set of people and neighbor. So it was like something, like something that keeps circulating there neighbor. The funding was, that's why it was always there. Because we supported the small businesses within our constituency. We supported the small businesses within our constituency neighbor. And that's where we keep our money fluctuating and rotating in a circle around us. That's why West Kingston was so different from a lot of communities. We had basic schools, we had primary schools, we had Denantown Primary, we had high schools, so the Tivoli Garden and Denantown High School. We had golden age home for seniors, we had ATM machines, we had banks, we had the largest market district neighbor, which is with the Coronation Market. That was also Mr. Seaga plan. The great Coronation Market that we neighbor. So we had a football team neighbor, Tivoli Garden Premier League Football Club. We had a basketball team, we had a netball team, and we had a Tivoli Bands. So it was built on culture, it was built on sports neighbor, and it was built on humanitarianism. Mr. Seaga neighbor, Mr. Institution, single-handedly neighbor, is the greatest visionary Jamaica politics has ever seen neighbor in the history of Jamaica politics neighbor. And it is so good neighbor, he's so good of a man neighbor that he saw it in Portia Simsimila neighbor. He helped in molding Portia Simsimila. She propelled to becoming the Prime Minister of Jamaica neighbor. He saw it in Andrew Wallace neighbor. It propelled him to become Prime Minister of Jamaica. He saw it in Tesla Mackenzie neighbor. It propelled him to become one of the greatest ministers in his field. He saw it in Bandsy Grange neighbor. And Jamaica will never see another culture minister like Bandsy Grange.
Hold on a minute there for me. Yeah, hold on a minute for me, Caroline. I'm sorry, Scratchy. Caroline?
Yes, neighbor. Good evening, everyone. Just a quick announcement. Our main page is suspended for 14 days, so we're asking each and every one of our listeners to follow this page that we're streaming on, as well as the one that I'm speaking from. Thanks much.
All right, great. All right, go ahead, Scratchy.
So yes, Mr. Neighbor, man. Mr. Seaga neighbor, the greatest visionary Jamaica ever seen neighbor. Every single thing that you see across the length and breadth of Jamaica right now, neighbor, whether it's sports, whether it's culture, whether it's education, neighbor, Mr. Seaga neighbor, conceptualize it, neighbor, he played a major role in it, neighbor. And that is why, neighbor, when he passed away, neighbor, that is why his funeral was like that. That is why the government went so hard for him, neighbor, because, not because he was just a laborite, and it was a laborite government in power when he passed away, neighbor. It was because of who this man was, neighbor. The man institutional. When you look at free zone, neighbor, that is not known. Free zone, Mr. Seaga idea, neighbor. When you look at Archos NTA, Mr. Seaga, My grandfather usually tell me, the neighbor, say one time, if you want a woman in the neighbor that's waiting 4:30, there's go to Marcus Garvey driving up.
Yeah, the crowd is out there.
Yeah, but my grandfather tell me that neighbor, say one time, if you want a woman that's waiting 4:30, put on your best suit and go to Marcus Garvey drive for stand up.
Where can you go? Where can you go now?
I don't know them so for half a tree. Right, tell the bus park.
I need one, sir, so you have to tell me where to go.
Yes, we have to can go for half a tree the bus park. But now we Trafalgar Road in the neighbor because Trafalgar Road is a different story on that side.
Yes.
I was still half a tree.
Yes.
So yeah, Mr. Seaga,
Yeah.
Greatest mind, the greatest political mind Jamaica has ever seen.
Yeah. Scratchy, where we are today, because I have argued that the road we never walked is part of the sadness of the Jamaican story. I have felt, Scratchy, that our generation, we, the people in my age group, people born in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, that we were robbed of a future that we should have had, Scratchy. And I think there are many Jamaicans listening to us tonight that are hurting, Scratchy, because somehow...
Yeah, I spoke about this on more than one occasion, neighbor.
Yes.
I can put in my own personal life, neighbor.
Tell us about it.
In my own personal life, neighbor. And I can safely say, neighbor, that I was deprived, neighbor, of achieving my true potential.
Oh, God.
I was deprived, neighbor, of becoming who I should have become. I was deprived, neighbor. I'm not even deprived. Deprived is too good of a word, neighbor. I was robbed.
Oh, my God.
Neighbor, I was robbed, neighbor. That I'm not going to use the deprived. Deprived is too nice of a word, neighbor. I was robbed, not just me, neighbor. That's a Jamaican to say about the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, neighbor. We were robbed of the opportunity, neighbor, to reach our true potential, neighbor. We were robbed of the opportunity, neighbor, to reach or to achieve our true goals, neighbor. And that was as a result, neighbor, because we had a government in power, neighbor, at that time, neighbor. That was very selfish, neighbor, who didn't put the best interest of Jamaicans at the forefront, neighbor, of our advancement, neighbor. And as a result, neighbor, that same government was government of that time, neighbor. They failed, the institutions that failed us, neighbor. Where government should have came in, neighbor, and played a certain role, neighbor. Government was lacking.
Yes.
The economy was in such a bad condition, neighbor. Government of the day couldn't find funding to do certain things, neighbor, to make our life, neighbor, to play that, just to give us that little help and that push, neighbor, that we needed at that time to advance. So, even in my case, neighbor, I had a person in my constituency, neighbor. Things that we have to took up on our own, neighbor.
Yes.
I don't think, neighbor, that was the responsibility of us at the time, neighbor. I think that was as a result, neighbor, how the state failed us, neighbor.
Yes.
A lot of things, neighbor, that was the responsibility of the state. If you look at even, neighbor, protection and security.
Yes.
Those are responsibility of the state, neighbor. And the state, the high political violence in the country of the day, neighbor. The state failed, neighbor, to adequately protect one side or one set of these persons who
yes.
have allegiance to a certain political side, neighbor.
Uh-huh.
So they left those persons, neighbor, to take up their own defense and their own protection in their own hands, neighbor.
Yes.
And that led to the high level of lawlessness that we saw, neighbor, during that time. That led to the high level of crime and violence that we saw during that time. And that also led, neighbor, to persons, neighbor, that respecting or having any form of respect, neighbor, for these institutions.
Uh-huh.
At that time, neighbor, because the state, the government of the day, neighbor, failed us, neighbor. They failed to properly equip the police force, neighbor, so that the police force, neighbor, could properly man communities, neighbor, could properly protect citizens, neighbor.
Yes.
Who were victim of political violence, and who were coming from political violence, coming under attack from political violence. Instead, the government of the day, neighbor, what they did was infiltrate the organizations, neighbor, that were supposed to protect the citizens of Jamaica, neighbor. Tell me a little bit
about that occasion when Mr. Seaga was crying on the Breakfast Club, saying that his people were under attack, Scratchy, and Mr. Seaga entered Tivoli Garden, knowing that there were policemen there firing. Tell me, were you there at that time?
I remember that day, neighbor. I remember that day, neighbor. It was a market day, neighbor. It was a market day, neighbor.
Uh-huh.
A lot of things was going on. That's why, neighbor. Neighbor, I can talk some things on this platform. A person might say, scratch talking foolishness or scratch talking. Neighbor, I have seen it my own.
My God. Let
police officers, neighbor, and criminals, neighbor, from a joining community, neighbor, that support the People's National Party, together, neighbor, launching attack on my constituency, neighbor. I have seen that with my own two eyes. Nobody don't tell me no, neighbor. I see that with my own two eyes. Where the police have to deal, neighbor, and criminals from other communities launching attack simultaneously are launching attack together, neighbor, and Western Kingston.
together? You say together?
Neighbor, together, neighbor. I see gunman and police together, neighbor, firing gunshot at my constituency, neighbor. I have seen, neighbor, when we lost the 2002 election. So when we lost the 2002 election, neighbor, I remember as a young youth, neighbor, as a child, I was standing up on a car in the morning, about 6:30 in the morning, neighbor. Everyone wake up because we came close.
No. I don't want to miss this. You are saying to me that agents of the state were launching an attack with marauding or illegal persons, firing, collusion.
Yes, neighbor, I saw that, neighbor. I don't know if you hear about all saints, neighbor, and all of those places, neighbor. If you usually live off all saints, if you live off North Street and those side, neighbor, those are considered the borderline, neighbor. If you live on the border of Rima, neighbor, and certain things, neighbor, some things are you would see, neighbor, you would have shocked and couldn't believe it, neighbor.
What are you saying to me?
Criminals, neighbor, from their joining communities and police together, launching attack on West Kingston, neighbor. I've seen that, neighbor, more than one time. More than one, neighbor, it was a political ploy of the day, neighbor, to weaken Western Kingston, neighbor, because they were of the belief, neighbor, that Western Kingston was too strong. They were of the belief, neighbor, that Western Kingston was too powerful, neighbor, and they wanted to weaken us. All of those security attacks, neighbor, that West Kingston came under, neighbor, it wasn't by any mistake in the neighbor. Those are things that was orchestrated in 1993, 1997, 2003. All of that was planned, neighbor. All that was planned and organized. All that was planned and organized, neighbor. It was to weaken the Western Kingston, neighbor, and weaken Mr. Seaga, and make Mr. Seaga look weak politically, neighbor. Because Mr. Seaga, neighbor, had the backing and the strength of Western Kingston DNA, neighbor. A powerhouse constituency, neighbor, that stood up 100% with him. And the PNP of the day, neighbor, was very much afraid, neighbor, of the strength that West Kingston had and the power that Mr. Seaga had over West Kingston, neighbor. Neighbor, I have seen these things as a child growing up, neighbor. That's why, neighbor, when you think when I talk about PNP cringe me, so, neighbor.
Oh.
When you think when I see Marvin Liquor Fire and then people that come, them a try launch petition against government and them a try to do this. When you think it hurt me so much, neighbor.
It hurt you, sir?
Because me know, neighbor, Marvin Liquor Fire them don't go through nothing, neighbor, for a launch a petition. Marvin Liquor Fire them are way more neighbor, they don't face no form of police brutality. They are launch a petition. They don't have nobody who will lose them life at the hands of police brutality. They are launch a petition. Why we the people who go through all of this, neighbor, who face police brutality, who lost family members at the hand of the security forces, neighbor, why it's so easy for us to can say, okay, we understand what happened after the day, neighbor, was political victimization. And we also understand, neighbor, that the police force right now is different and the police force has changed. I will forgive, I will move on from whatever happened. So who is Marvin Liquor for your neighbor? When you go through, not what we go through. But you want to come go on like say, yeah, face bully, you go through worse than we. You know what you do is Marvin Liquor for your do is, you use the separation, and you use the death of people, and you think this is a joking for your own personal agenda, sir. That's what you're doing. You're trying to run down your own personal agenda. Neighbor, people suffer, people lose life because of this. So every time I see these guys running around, neighbor, I'm just to myself, go scratch it. None of the money they go to where you go to. So you can go to so much. And you can't see the thing Marvin Liquor Fire say. Neighbor, Marvin Liquor Fire, there's a bunch of fakes. There's a bunch of them a political agenda. Them a political will, neighbor. All we see them a do, neighbor, it is not genuine. It is not real, neighbor. It is to gain them own popularity the next election. You see them name on a ballot. That is what they do. The police, them do it to neighbor. A lot of police do it too. A lot of police, neighbor, of the day, neighbor, they push up themselves, neighbors, as crime fighters. They cut down to get media attention, neighbor. And they attack communities that support the Jamaica Labour Party. and 2-3 years after, you see them on a ballot who they representing the PNP. It is all a plan and a plot, neighbor. Police do it, pastor do it, and now you see Marvin, they could pay them and they could activists run up and down. All of them are do it, neighbor. They are not genuine. You see, Marvin, they could pay was genuine, neighbor. I could understand and say, okay, genuine is to say you're concerned about extrajudicial, the allegation of extrajudicial killing by the police force. But I don't get that from him, neighbor, because you know why? You never go to it, bro. You know, go to you come from a constituency, come on a constant target from security forces. You know, come from a constituency where you have a family member who lose their life, and you know, say yes, this person innocent. As a result, so neighbor, if me and the rest of the person in my constituency can look and say, we forgive the police force, we forgive the security forces, we look past what happened, and we know that say yes, some of the blame was on us. We were in the wrong too, and we say we want better, and we know how important the police is, and we want to see the police thrive and the police work better. So it hurt me, neighbor, because me can understand that, and me can say that, but Marvin, the fire who don't go to anything at all, neighbor, can come go here on the band of a large petition against government. Who you got too big, man? What kind of police brutality you face? Show me your back scare them, Marvin, the fire. Show me your back scare them. Maybe you can understand and answer, okay, Marvin, the fire, you go through it, so I saw you say you don't go through nothing, bro. And we who go through it, we feel bad when I see people like you on TV, I run up and down, and I try to do this because you make it look like the people who lost them kids, neighbor, the parents who lost them loved ones, neighbor, they are spitting our face, brother. They are spitting our face, brother. They are using blood and with tears against us, brother, for political mockery and political mileage. It's all politics here, bro. You're not genuine in our yard, bro. That's like hurt me, neighbor. It hurt me, neighbor. I'm saying, neighbor, if I was in Jamaica, I'd find him when you're Marvin, the man. I asked him, brother, where your back is scared. What kind of police brutality you go to? What kind of police operation you go to? What kind of hostility you go to with police? Neighbor, we in West Kingston, neighbor, face it, and we can say, we forgive whatever happened. All of the attacks we come on the neighbor, we can say we forgive it. All of the attacks we come on the neighbor, we can say we move on from it. Yes, and like we lost family member, neighbor, we lose family member. And we can say despite lose a family member, neighbor, we understand the importance of the police, and we understand that we have to move on, neighbor, and we move on, and we forgive, and we forget, and we want to see Jamaica, neighbor, on a level where anything we do, it is not politically motivated. Anybody who go against the police, neighbor, it should not be politically motivated. If you're seriously concerned about what is going on, Marvin, show that you already show your honor already, and it's corrupt. And you already showed us that you're drinking there in school, and there's nothing what you can do or say to make any well-thinking Jamaican believe that you're genuine with what you're doing. Neighbor, the guy is not genuine. I can see right to him, neighbor. Show me your battle scars. Show me your battle scars, big man. Me, neighbor, it's me. Why? Why is not someone, neighbor, who has suffered from political victimization, police brutality? Why is not someone like that out there running up and down, getting signatures to sign and stuff like that? Why is someone, neighbor, who don't go through any of that and run up and down about petition? The guy have a different agenda, neighbor. The guy is not genuine. The guy is not genuine. Anytime you can come show me film back the scars, then I will say, okay, you have all right to do what you do. But right now, sit down, brother, because the polity I work for your name for the next election. That's all you do. Work for your name for the ballot.
Fantastic. Well, hold on there, Scratchy. Hold a little water. Fascinating stuff. Protecting Jamaica.
Good evening, neighbor. Good evening, panelists. Good evening, listeners. All patriotic Jamaicans. Good night.
Yes, protecting. The man who planted trees he never sat under, Edward Seaga, 96. We're reflecting tonight. How you coming?
Well, to pick up at the back end where Scratchy left off, somebody might have a feedback. Pick up from where Scratchy left off. Marvin is promoting his cryptocurrency, and so he has to increase his following in order to register your crypto. I think you need about 150,000 signatures, something of the sort. So that's all he's doing. Remember, he was at UIC, Sir Joseph Patterson. Then he went over to BMP, Then him say him have his own party and he's not leading himself. So, and now he's sitting on resources to start a coup in Jamaica. So that is telling he's sitting on resources, unlimited resources to start a coup. He resides in the United States. He's sitting on his bank. Make of that whatever you will. Now, the playbook of the People's National Party, somebody have a feedback. I don't know who. I don't know if you name her. I don't know if somebody you bring up. Somebody have a feedback. Somebody could have mute. The playbook of the People's National Party has one strategy. One lasting strategy. And the strategy is, if you can discredit a good thing, then you just might be able to get people to join you in that mission or on that mission, and then you would have succeeded. The only strategy the People's National Party has ever employed was to discredit great leaders produced by the Jamaican Labour Party. Great leaders. No, the truth is, the People's National Party has never been about the advancement and the progress of Jamaica and Jamaicans. And sometimes it might be too much for repetition, but we have to continue to teach the same lesson, semester after semester, year after year.
Yes.
Until people begin to understand. No, in the 1930s, it was only one man in Jamaica fighting for the rights of people. Alexander Bustamante, Sir Alexander Clark. Before the idea of the PMP even came about, somehow the PMP have been supported by some very influential people in the society. I'm going to name some of these institutions. To have established Norman Manley as the father of independence Jamaica. Norman Manley never interested in independence. Norman Manley was interested in what the British colonial government promised him, to establish a West Indies Federation and make him the first chairman of the federation. That's what he was interested in. Alexander Bustamante went through the streets and laid in a country bush, climbed the hilltop and in the valleys, fighting for independence, for self-government. And when the colonial government and Norman Manley decided that they were going to have none of it, Buster smartly called for a referendum in 1961. And we know that the rest is history because the people rejected West Indies Federation. So the idea of the CIA being a part of the landscape in those troubled times, we have allowed the PMP to tell the story, and we have not countered the story. Because the truth is, the CIA was in Jamaica because the PMP went for the KGB and the GDI from Cuba.
Yes.
The KGB from Russia and the GDI from Cuba, operating covertly in Jamaica to disrupt Jamaica's democracy. The CIA knew this because they were embedded in the Cuban Revolutionary Army that Michael Manley sent 2,300 Jamaicans to go train as brigadistas. And when they sent back cable to Washington, Washington knew that trouble was brewing in the Caribbean, but more so Jamaica, and they would have none of it. What's Seaga have to do with that? It's all about the PMP and what they wanted to do. No, the only mission the PMP has ever gone on and pump resources into, put effort into, is to demonize nation builders produced by the Jamaican Labour Party. Buster returned from the United States in 1938 as an engineer.
Yes.
Yet still the PMP managed to sell an argument that him done because it's a BRED. Bread. Come on. Who among us have ever thought that we should be teaching?
Yeah, but protecting. Here, help me,
So that we are getting excited.
help me to.
I'm getting there.
Oh, you get in there. Yeah, I want you to get there because I am only 16 minutes out from my closing time. I have to make some additional time. So
No.
work with me.
Okay. No. The idea that the PMP has of leadership of a country is just an idea that situates them as being in charge of the purse.
Say that again for me. Say that again.
But the idea that the PMP has of being in charge of a country, it's just to be in charge of the purse. That's all. They don't care about nation building. They don't care.
How did that come about? How did that come about? How did that come about?
It has always been the manipulating position of the People's National Party.
Yes.
Remember when the PMP was introduced, the PMP was developed by Buster Fairclough.
Yes.
And when it was introduced to Norman never interested in it. Not until Norman saw that the plot by him and the British colonial government wasn't going to work, he bought into having a political party. And what did he do? His idea was to make it a club for himself and other lawyers, for them to maintain influence over the poorer class of people.
So the PNP is not a political movement vested in the
PMP has never been a political movement.
Oh my God.
PMP is a social club, and if you do not join that social club, then you're not important to them.
The PNP is not a movement vested in the advancement of Jamaica, sir.
No.
Oh.
Only if you're interested in joining the PMP, them spend time with you. So look at this neighbor. When the PMP talk about Michael Manley say free education. Free education was being talked about from 1944 when Alexander Bustamante and the JLP became the first political party who win an election under universal adult suffrage. And
Oh my God.
Beginning now to warm up to self-government. Bustamante talked about free education from 1944. What did Michael do? Michael said free education tertiary. What did the PMP do? The PMP went around and identified and unpicked people from comrade families who would be beholden to the party when they send them to college. Cliff Hughes is one such person. And when Cliff Hughes decided to not continue with their foolishness, they hate him. Look what they do, Cliff Hughes. Cliff Hughes is a comrade by heart. He's a comrade at heart. And he was true to Michael Manley. But they hate him and went after him many times to destroy him because he decided not to walk away from the cult.
Frame the lost decades for me protecting.
When Edward Seaga came under attack,
yes,
started in the 60s. Edward Seaga started to come under attack from the late 60s. Why? Because as the Minister of Housing and Development in Jamaica, the Ministry of Housing was conceptualized by Eddie as a young politician under Buster government. And he was given the latitude to plan Jamaica's future.
yes.
And as Chuck was saying earlier, there was a 5-year plan, there was a 10-year plan, 20-year plan, 30-year plan, 40-year plan. There were plans. There were plans put in place by Edward Seaga for the development of Jamaica. So the attack started from the late 60s because they realized that this one is going to be the one to beat if we allow him to gather mass. So fast forward up to the troubled times when Edward Seaga was coming under attack, even gunfire. When a certain person was sent to go get rid of him, what Chuck said, neighbor and listeners, is true. Take away the bodyguard them radio and kill the effer down there. But true. Neighbor, you want to tell you one of my most painful situations that I experienced these days?
Who they were suggesting that they unalived?
Neighbor, the PMP send go kill Seaga. Okay? You see, Jamaica needs a truth and reconciliation period in a neighbor. But guess what? There are those in the society who don't want it. Because everything will be laid bare and the PMP will be seen for who they are, a criminal organization. Neighbor, I have stood in rooms planning attacks and Eddie Antibody. Connecting the dots can tell you of his experiences. I have stood in meetings and gatherings planning. Until it's said, neighbor, one of my most painful experience is that we get too old now. And I have been battle tested and battered and torn. We can't fight no more. And that is the reason why I remain anonymous. Because if I was to lay bare my experience, it might be a civil war that breaks out in Jamaica. We can't fight. We can't fight no more, neighbor. There are many like myself in the society who knows and understand what's happening. And yes, we're still fighting because we need Jamaica to succeed for once. Let me tell you something, neighbor. When the PMP bad up the cleaner, JBC and all who did have media back then to only carry their narrative, it was not only the media. There were those in academia who was in the classroom in the universities teaching lies. Many who were seen as esteemed people in the society, what people look up to, people when they talk on radio and TV, you have to respect what them say and listen to them. That's how the PMP control institutions. That's how the PMP corrupted Jamaica for all those years. We have to talk truth. We have to speak the truth. And not until we get to that point where we can speak the truth freely, Jamaica will never be rescued. Andrew Holness is going through a mountain of attacks. Why? You think because something wrong with Andrew Holness? No. He's doing something good. As my granny always said, nobody knows stone fluxy mango. But the people of Jamaica, you know why they are too gullible? They are too gullible because they have not taken the time. And a matter of fact, there's no other interest in Jamaica who wants to teach them the truth. The People's National Party have institutionalized itself in Jamaica. They have done it well. The PMP, look at it, they are so skilled, neighbor. The PMP will get people to talk about the CIA in Jamaica because Seaga is a white man. But they will never talk about why the CIA come to Jamaica. They will never. And so we have a society now today when they talk about CIA, they mention Seaga in the same sentence. They speak the truth. But who is going to rise up among us and speak the truth? Tivoli Garden and the idea of such a community from the womb to the tomb. What that means? Tivoli Garden have one of the most advanced clinic when it was built. I remember in 2007 when the door jams, when certain things fixtures needed to change, windows, doors, door jam and them something. And we did a tour with Bruce Golding and he was planning what to do and what to do. And there was a matron there. And she has been there ever since that place was open. And she sat down with a few of us and she was sharing the story. Neighbor, when the woman don't talk, we couldn't have nothing but pride. The Tivoli High School was a comprehensive high school. Everything there. Because you must stay in your community, develop character, develop yourself, and when you leave the community to go college, you already a rounded young adult.
Yes.
That was the idea of building communities to build society and you build a nation. The PMP knew that they had to attack the person. Notice what the PMP is doing to Andrew Holness.
Oh God.
They are attacking the person.
So you are saying to me that the playbook has not changed, eh?
No, and it will never change because they don't know better. The PMP is always going to be a party full of lawyers because that's how it came about. It is going to always be the party that tells the country that yes, they are intellectuals because they can manipulate policy, they can manipulate words, they can make presentation that tricky and you don't even know, say, you get tricked till they close the car for you. That's how they are. They will never change. But the people of Jamaica, too many of our brothers and sisters really don't understand this.
Yes.
Now, social media is a good tool in the neighbor, but guess what? A good tool in the hands of an idiot is going to cause destruction. So just imagine the person who have no comprehension now with a phone, a smartphone. And every time they scroll on TikTok, some PMP foolishness pop up. So there is still infiltration of the mind that is happening. But there must be a pushback, there must be a fight back. We must be able to counter all of this. How in 2026, we're in the 21st century, neighbor, we don't even have a full documentary that compiles all the foundational programs that established to me. For example, so I'm doing a research to complete a video I'm working on. The Ministry of Housing and the Jamaica Mortgage Bank work together, even though the Jamaica Mortgage Bank was created after they realized that there was a sustainability issue with funding. So it was created in 1971. But the Ministry of Housing, between 1962 to 1972, was building houses. Now the structure, if you read through the policy of the Ministry of Housing and then combine with the new policy of the Jamaica Mortgage Bank, and if you read the NHT Act, it's the same thing. Them copy the housing policy of the 1960s. All them do is give a new name. They are not originators of anything. Why is it that we are not compiling these policies, which are groundbreaking, life-changing policies, and presenting them to people, whether in bite size or whatever you want to do, so that people can learn? Because there is a competition for the mind, and the nonsense is winning the competition.
You think so? The nonsense is winning?
Yes, man, it takes precedence too much.
But
every time we have to play catch up with the truth. Edward Seaga single-handedly brought a financial sector to Jamaica. None never exists.
Yes.
Edward Seaga introduced culture to Jamaica. The very reggae music that Jamaica is known for now throughout the world, Edward Seaga defined the music in Jamaica.
Yes.
Edward Seaga brought tourism to Jamaica. Edward Seaga brought a development plan to Jamaica. All the plans that Eddie Seaga left at the UDC, which he founded for urban development. Some of the plans, PJ Pattis take them up, brush them off, and then I try to implement them like him know nothing about them or even conceptualize them. Edward Seaga established sport in Jamaica. No, neighbor, there cannot be a situation we are now facing where this one man, even the national hero situation, Eddie Seaga established that in Jamaica. We should not have a situation where one 20-year-old today, one 15-year-old don't know. Them are sitting here should in a school. It should be a part of the curriculum. You think that America can have one preschool class, one basic school class, one high school class, and Lincoln is not taught in that class? Huh?
Yes.
Come on, man. Well, we need to now institutionalize Jamaica's development. But there are some still in academia in Jamaica who don't want to fear. They may want to fear teach in a high school, say JLP develop Jamaica, because that youngster at 15 in 5 years is
Yeah. Yeah.
Single-handedly, Edward Seaga made Jamaica. Single-handedly.
Yeah.
That is something to be proud of.
Yes.
That is something to feel pride about. And there is no PMP that can talk to me about development in Jamaica if him not go mention Seaga name. If him not go mention you will also share a name. And if him not go mention Alexander Bustamante name. And now, if he's not going to mention Andrew Wallace name, he can't talk to me about nothing in Jamaica. And they will never be on it, so they will never have such conversation. Because any conversation about the development in Jamaica must include the foundational leaders of the Jamaica Labour Party.
Hello.
The first set of schools in Jamaica. Other than the uptown school, when the colonial government did have their white people, them ago, was built by the Jamaica Labour Party. This conversation must be had, and it must be had in a particular context, and we must not be afraid to have it. Edward Seaga should have been the next national hero on the heroes list.
Yes.
And we should not be afraid to establish him as a national hero.
Yes.
Jamaica deserved an Edward Seaga. And Jamaica deserves an Andrew Wallace now. And guess what? We never put them out of dirty and talk. We must speak proudly. We must full of pride when we are talking about these things.
Yes. Fascinating projecting. Hold on. Let me jump over to Chops. Chops Media. Hello Chops. Chops Media is there. Help me there. Help me.
Let's go to Joshua on mute.
Oh, do we have Joshua?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Joshua.
Yes, sir. Good night. Good night. Good
To you,
night.
Joshua. Seaga, the man who planted trees he never sat under. 96-year-old. We're reflecting on him tonight. What you have to say?
All right. So good night to you, to the moderators, to all the listeners, present and future. There's so much to say about Edward Seaga that tonight is really not enough to bring it out. I like to refer to Edward Seaga as the father of Jamaica. And I know that's a tall statement, but it is true. Because
Yes.
what we need to understand is that in every area of society that you can think of, every single area, barring none, Edward Seaga's footprint and handprint is found there.
Yes.
Let us look at them. It would be remiss of me to mention Edward Seaga without first mentioning where he was born and what he did when he had the opportunity to do it.
Yes.
Edward Seaga was born in Massachusetts to Jamaican parentage. The same set of people that Lisa Hanna is from, Lebanese descent, is the same lineage Edward Seaga is. So when people like to refer to Edward Seaga as a white man, that's false. His grandparents, his parents, and his great grandparents are all Jamaicans, plus he
Yes.
himself. The only reason he was born in Massachusetts is because his father went there. His parents actually went there on business, and 3 months later, no, he was born there while his parents were on business. And 3 months later, they took him back to Jamaica. Right? Now, one of the things is that what brought Edward Seaga first and foremost to prominence was not politics. What it was his care and concern for the poor. How do we know this? Because what he did, first of all, he was a philanthropist. No, an anthropologist, right? Which is really study human and their behavior. It's similar to a sociologist, right? But it really studies how human beings operate, right? And during that time, he slept with the people both in St. Elizabeth and down in Bakawal, now known as Tivoli, when it was Bakawal. He slept in their beds, he ate with them, he embedded himself, and he ate and slept. So for more than 6 months, he was doing all of this, and he saw their plight. Having seen all of these things, he began to write to the newspaper at the time, which was the Gleaner. And he wrote, and upon doing that, Bustamante, it caught Bustamante's attention. But Edward Seaga, I think, entered politics 1959, if I'm not mistaken, right? Protecting can correct me if I'm wrong on that. I don't remember the year to be exact, right? But when he entered politics, before he got to politics at age 29, before entering politics, he voluntarily renounced his citizenship to show that he was aligned to the country that his parents, his grandparents, and his great grandparents were born in. No one had to force him. No one asked him any question, and then he lied about where he was born and that he didn't have a Jamaican citizenship or he had a Jamaican citizenship. He voluntarily, of his own accord, renounced it. Right? Having done that, he was named at one point in time among the one that I'm protecting mentioned, Minister of Planning and Development. Now, this is critical because he was really responsible for the overall planning of things that went through the party, right? That the party's policy, in essence, right, basically fell in his hands. Uh, One of the first things that he did was created the poor relief program, and that is critical. And it shows you his heart because having slept with the people and seen their plight, he recognized that there was a need, right, to alleviate them out of the stresses of post-colonialism and the ravages and the vestiges of colonialism. So he created the poor relief program, not the same one that we know today. The one that we know today is a watered down version of it because the poor relief program then had the indigent housing program. That's where it all began, right?
Uh-huh.
And in addition to that, one of the things that it used to do also is that persons who could not afford to pay their rent, the government would pay their rent for them at that time, right? Then, in addition to that, there was the reclamation of land from those who were wealthy, the bauxite company, the cane farmers. And so this eat what you grow and grow what you eat that you hear PNP boasting about. Not go so. And I feel them idea. This came between Bustamante and Edward Seaga, right, when he was Minister of Planning and Development. And so they would reclaim the land from these rich, wealthy people and the bauxite company and the wealthy cane farmers, redistribute it to the poor and taught them how to till the land. And that is where the eat what you grow and grow what you eat came from. Right? In addition to that, um, there were other forms of social housing that was provided
Uh-huh.
and other forms of social programs that was provided as a result of Edward Seaga being there. He also created the Home for the Elderly or the National Golden Age Home. He's the one that created that. The National Infirmary, which is really a place that held persons, which is similar to the Golden Age, but with a little twist to it. The National Youth Service that you hear PNP bragging about, it was Edward Seaga's thing, not just his idea. He created it, right? But PNP, as usual, like to claim paternity for things that they don't know about. And when we got to independence, it was Edward Seaga that came up with this nationalization program. What is the nationalization program? It is a program where we believe that the things that are in Jamaica not only should be owned by Jamaica, but those that are in Jamaica that were owned by foreign entity should either be partially owned by Jamaicans or totally owned by Jamaicans. It was Edward Seaga that came up with the dollarization, where we moved from pounds to our own money. It was Edward Seaga that came up with the 100 village program, right? And that is what we hear about with the Tivoli Gardens pilot program, because Tivoli was supposed to be a pilot program for what was going to happen right across Jamaica. So the 100 village program is that every community is going to be self-sustaining, their own clinic, their own police station or post, their own sports teams such as netball, volleyball, football, cricket, and their own schools. So it's self-sustaining. In addition to that, he came up with a 5-year developmental plan. The creation of reggae music came out of in 1967, leading up to the World Music Festival, when Jamaica did not have a representative. Edward Seaga called a lady known as Olive Lewin and Byron Lee and said the people in downtown have a music down there that them love. Clean it up and then let us use it. Right? And that is how our indigenous music became recognized because a lot of soca music was being played in Jamaica at the time. So Mr. Seaga, instead of focusing on soca, for those who were born in the 60s like myself, we remember in the early 70s, we listened a lot of Lord Sparrow and all of those things because it was still very fresh at the time. And we came and had our own music because of Edward Seaga. The creation of Petrojam, the oil refinery, was Mr. Seaga again. Jamaica Conference Center, which is downtown. Mr. Seaga again. Again. DOJ, that PNP like to tell you all sort of announce the story about. Edward Seaga. Social Development Commission was Mr. Seaga. Jamaica Cultural Development Commission, better known as JCDC. Mr. Seaga. UDC, which was responsible for the development across Jamaica of all national projects, be it road, the same BOJ and all of these things. It's NARA's predecessor. It's just that NARA is a more advanced mechanism that is supposed to remove the red tape for development, right? But UDC was created by Mr. Seaga. Jamaica Festival Competition was Mr. Seaga. Portmore, that PNP like to lie about, was Mr. Seaga. That is how we came by the name Independence Village, because the first community that was built was supposed to remind us of our independence. And when Mr. Seaga came up with the idea, PNP says that we were going to ask him if they were going to take the people over there and drown them off in a swamp. Causeway, which preceded the highway from Marcus Garvey Drive to Portmore, was Mr. Seaga. Right? Ocherias, the creation of Ocherias and New Kingston was Mr. Seaga. Both places were bushes, as Mr. Seaga created those. Right? Digiport, the first satellite in Jamaica, was Edward Philip George Seaga. Had it not been for Digiport, there would be no cell phone now, the very instrument we're using, and the very internet that we're getting. It's as a result of that which Mr. Seaga did, 1985. Right? National Housing Development Commission, NHDC, which Carl Blight robbed money from, was created by Edward Philip George Seaga. Unmatched. The creation of Heart Trust, the training of skills for people that now offers free training up to level 5. Edward Philip George Seaga, the father of the nation, as it were. Right? The National Arena, Edward Philip George Seaga. He's unmatched, unheralded. Right? Now, in addition to Tivoli, there was another community. I don't remember if it was Jungler or Anatown. That was formed by Mr. Seaga. The National Heroes Burial Ground. Edward Philip George Seaga did that. PNP don't know how that was created. The celebration of Heroes Day. Edward Philip George Seaga did that. So all of you people who have medals, who are listening and will listen later, who have medals and are being recognized for meritorious service, right? And for other forms of gallantry and things that has to do with nation building. It's Mr. Seaga, whether you like him or hate him. Why you got that? PNP had nothing to do with it, even when he's... In addition to that, the repatriation of Marcus Garvey Marcus Garvey's body to Jamaica. But Edward Philip George Seaga, again, in fact, I tell you a little story regarding that. When it was supposed to be returned to PNP, went against it. Norman Manley, yes, oh my God, said no, don't want it here. In fact, it was because of Norman Manley why Marcus Garvey was exiled from Jamaica, from his own country. Because Marcus Garvey was speaking about Pan Africanism, black liberation, and the right to self governance. And Norman Manley hated it and exiled him from Jamaica. After the United States wanted to deport him here, and Marcus had to run from Jamaica to England because of PNP and Norman Manley. I know it hurt, but I've hurt in the feelings tonight. I come out blazing tonight, and I'm not going to stop it. Right? The conceptualization of the Contractor General's Department that has now been subsumed by the Integrity Commission because the man believes in integrity. That's Edward Philip George Seaga. None of you can stand in his shadow. Not in his shadow. Not in the Jesus shoes you can hold. PNP, hold that. Right? And for those children, forgive me for being so strident tonight. But I'm passionate about it. Right? The conceptualization of the interlinking of highways across Jamaica. All of them nice road we want to see. Right? That you guys want to say is PJ Patterson. Rang bang if it was an exam. This is Edward Philip George Seaga's idea. His idea. Right? Half a Tree Park. Edward Seaga again. National tree planting program to ensure that drought don't kill you. Right? And we have trees across the island so that we can have oxygen and the removal of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And so that rainfall continuously comes so that your crops can benefit from it. That is Edward Philip George Seaga. And he also formed the Caribbean Basin Initiative, the creation of JOS, Jamaica Omnibus Service, which preceded the bus them. I don't remember the proper name now. See it? Because I have to be working off the top of my head trying to remember some of these things. Right? MPM, which is now known as NSWMA, that keep your towns and parks clean. That was Edward Philip George Seaga, why your garbage is being taken care of. NAA, National Works Agency, was the original name that Edward Philip George Seaga created was Public Works Department. It is because of the great man. Right? The name Marcus Garvey Highway, Edward Seaga again. The Exim Bank, which is the Export-Import Bank of Jamaica. Edward Seaga again. Creation of Free Zone. Edward Seaga again. Electoral Office of Jamaica. Edward Seaga. Right? And UTEC. UTEC. Yes. UTEC. Swallow that. You don't need to swallow that. This man deserves a National Heroes Award.
Yes.
So PNP, you listen me, I'm speaking directly to the PNP now. PNP, you need to begin to have some dignity and some morals about you. And instead of sitting about trying to make the man look bad every step of the way, you need to apologize to the nation for treating the father of the nation the way you have treated him. Right? This man has fought for you.
Yes.
Not for labor rights, for you too. So that Jamaica can be better. And you criminal-minded, yes, I said it unapologetically, criminal-minded comrades who can only think about your pockets and about your party being in power to raid the NIR, right? And to give Jamaica a bad name every step of the way that you can, right? I've set out to demonize the man. When Edward Seaga rescued, I know somebody said it already, but it needs repeating, rescued Jamaica from the clutches of Michael Manley when he was turning Jamaica into communism. Let me tell you how important that is for all Jamaicans, especially PNP. because we would not be able to freely go to church. I can tell you this of a fact because I once attended Wyland Street Church downtown. Let me tell you, see, I'm telling you a little information about me. And there's a former brigadista that used to attend there. And one day when him conscience bite him and we're in a men's fellowship meeting at the time, he told us that Michael Manley ordered them to shut down the church and turn it into a factory. That is where we were heading. That is where we were heading. You would not be able to freely worship. Michael Manley said, if somebody have a house and somebody don't have none, they must go there, go take it over. Let me tell you how dangerous that is because this is where we get the mendicancy mindset from, right? Where people feel entitled to other people's sweat and labor. Edward Seaga rescued you from that. Edward Seaga made it possible for you to work and enjoy the work of your hands, and somebody don't come and kick you out of your house and take it over. Edward Philip George Seaga did that, and I yield right there. We must teach this in our schools so that our children know it. And there's a lot more, but it's just that I forgot it. Most of the time, I keep remembered from the top of my head.
Yeah, well, fantastic for you. Fantastic presentation from Joshua John there tonight. Um, Edward Seaga, the man who planted trees he never sat under. Do we have Chops Media now? Do we have Chops? He's falling asleep. All right.
Yeah, man, I'm here. I'm here, neighbor. I don't know if there's evening to you and good evening to your viewers.
Yes.
Good evening to your panel and everybody. I don't know if there's any. I don't know if I can add anything to what Joshua said, but he pretty much.
Yeah, well, but I know, Chops, that you were a great admirer of Mr. Seaga. The party last week paused for a floral tribute to Mr. Seaga, well deserved, 96 years old. But for young Jamaicans listening, Chops Media, those persons who don't know Mr. Seaga and would have heard maybe many things about him, position Mr. Seaga for us and place Mr. Seaga in the context of where Jamaica is today.
Father of the nation.
Father of the nation.
Father of the nation. Father of the nation. There's no apology for that. The institutions that we benefit from today, a significant amount of those institutions were built by Edward Seaga. He took a country back in 1979, 1980, that was totally devastated by the mismanagement of the PNP back in the 1970s. And he rebuilt our institution and got us back at a level where we were ready poised for takeoff.
Yes.
Unfortunately, he never got a chance to win that election in 1989, and they said the rest is history. But I'll give you a story. Joshua touched on a lot of what he had achieved. But it's an interesting story because a lot of young people might be watching us, and there are young people who visit the national US circle from time to time and would have observed what took place there. It was
yes.
Seaga who brought back Marcus Garvey's body to Jamaica. And when Marcus Garvey's body came back to Jamaica, and they were conducting a viewing at the National Arena, and the right preparation was being made for the internment at US Circle. The PNP would have led a group, and they would have organized with the persons who were digging the grave to bury Marcus Garvey like a hard criminal, which is, and forgive me if I'm not 100% sure what the coordinates are, but I believe east to west versus north to south in terms of how the body is placed. If you place the body east to west, it signifies
that you're a criminal. And north to south is a traditional way of burying a body. Don't quote me on it, but I am almost certain that's what it is.
Yes.
The PNP hijacked the process at your circle and caused the body to be dug in a particular way, contrary to what the standings are. And it was when Edward Seaga found out that they had to delay taking the body to the National Hero Circle and made a correction. So if you notice that all the graves and I'm saying this because I'm coming to the context. When you look at all the graves in the National Hero Circle, you realize that Marcus Garvey's grave has, instead of 4 sides, it has about 6 or 8 sides. Because the grave was dug in 2 different directions, north, south, and east, west. Because they had to make a quick correction to what existed. I'm saying that to say to you that there are some of the most significant periods in Jamaica's history that Jamaica went through. Edward Seaga was a part of it.
Uh-huh.
Edward Seaga was here when Jamaica got independence in 1962. He was a part of the Constitution Committee.
Yes.
The committee that framed the Constitution of Jamaica. The committee that put together the document to lead us into independence. The document that led us into independence, Edward Seaga was a part of the drafting committee. When Jamaica changed from pound, shilling, and pence to dollars and cents, it was Edward Seaga that was at the helm of it. When Jamaica discovered backside and was going through, Edward Seaga was right there, building up the institutions and assisting with the affairs of the country's economy. Took over in 1972 as opposition leader and won the general election in 1980. And went on to serve as opposition leader up until 2007. Unfortunately, Edward Seaga, as powerful as he is, and I want young people to think about this, as powerful as Edward Seaga is, Seaga only won 1 single election in Jamaica.
Oh my.
Never won a second one.
Uh-huh.
But Edward Seaga's contribution to this country and to have only won a single election. Just imagine if we had not made that mistake in 1989. Had we not made that mistake in 89, Jamaica would be today a first world country.
Yes.
And I say that without any fear of contradiction. Jamaica never made a mistake in 1989. We would have been the first world country today. Edward Seaga's contribution is second to none. I listened keenly to Joshua, who named a significant amount of the institutions that were built by Edward Seaga. We got a country that was ravished in 1980, and he sat there and rebuilt those institutions. And today, a lot of those institutions were benefiting from them today. So it's quite fitting that we honor the man and give the man the respect he deserves. If there's anybody who should be called the father of the nation,
Yeah.
Seaga.
So a fitting honor for Seaga would be what? Chops. We lay flowers at his grave every year. But what? How could we honor Mr. Seaga really fitting?
You know, the naming of institutions are symbolic, and it's a good gesture because what it does, it engraves one's name into the archives of the country, and it helps young people to remember who these individuals are.
Yes.
If persons did not name Sam Sharp, Marcus Garvey, Paul Bogle, John Miller Gordon, Nadia Barrow, and all the heroes,
Not hearing Chops.
if
He's breaking up. He's breaking up.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a fan in your background here, but there's something that is.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a feedback in your background, I'm not sure.
Yeah, got it.
It's that fan or something.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's something giving us terrible feedback. Yeah, much better now. Yeah, man. So I was saying to you that he undoubtedly has contributed a lot, and naming of institutions and buildings and other significant infrastructural monument and stuff in this country in his honor is a good thing. Because had someone not kept the names of those persons who went on before, people like Edward Seaga, we would not have been here today showing our respect to all the heroes of this country. And Edward Seaga is undoubtedly should be one of our heroes. And I think at the appropriate time, that definitely should be bestowed onto him. He has done the work, and he has done the best that I think anybody could do for this country. And when you look at the reality that he has only won a single election, and to have accomplished what he did, he deserves the highest honor that this country can provide for him. So I hear the man, and I give the man the respect he deserves. I happened to meet him twice. I met him at the Twilly Gardens football complex a few years ago. While he was still running the Twilly Garden Football Club. And I was associated with the Seaview Gardens Football Club at the time and CASAFA, Kingston and St. Andrew Football Association. I happened to meet him and had a good conversation with him. An honourable gentleman and somebody who he share a day apart. My birthday is on the 27th of May and his is on the 28th. So that tells you how Gemini we are. So I honor the man. I hear the man. I hear the man.
Well, thank you so much, Chops, and I appreciate that, sir.
Not a problem, sir.
Yes, very, very, very good. Protecting Jamaica.
Yes, neighbor.
Take us out tonight with your final comments on this very important subject of Edward Seaga, the man who planted trees he never sat under. Just sum up what we did tonight here and take us out.
History has a funny way of establishing truth.
Yes.
It doesn't matter the countless lies to distract and to detour people's thinking, to cause people to gaze on things that are not important. When history, after it is written, is revealed, the truth will be pronounced and it cannot be changed. But while that is happening, while history has established truth, if truth is not reverberated, then it will not be known.
Yes.
I continue to champion the cause that we need to communicate these important things to our citizens. We have the time now. When PMP are there 18 years, they spread all the lies that they could, There is a certain section of Jamaica, a certain demographic in Jamaica now who believes that a PMP built Jamaica because they spent enough time in power repeating these lies and establishing their truth, which is the alternative truth. I believe that the government needs to see it as something important to run documentaries about the very establishment of Jamaica and the Jamaican landscape. And in doing so, then we will begin to re-establish the fact that Jamaica is what it is today. The very foundations that established Jamaica are foundations that were laid by the Jamaica Labour Party. I am hopeful that those who listened tonight to learn something, I am hopeful that they learned something. There are those who don't really come by if they learn nothing. Like one of them just who tell me for SYM. My brother or sister, whoever you are, it doesn't matter to me what you will say. Will not threaten me or say, will not crucify me upside down. It don't matter. I've been through the hills and valleys, and I know what it is, and I understand very well. And this is another thing that truth does. Truth causes those who can no longer hide the lie to get angry. And that's the reason why people are so angry, especially when you confront them with truth. Truth will always reign supreme. And the truth is, the very foundations that carries Jamaica today were established by the Jamaica Labour Party. And those who are here listening, you don't have to believe none of what I say. I don't subscribe to belief. What you need to do is, when you hear somebody like me speak these things, you need to go look for yourselves. Do your own research. We owe it to ourselves as individuals to seek information, seek knowledge for ourselves. Jamaica did not just get here by chance. It was established by the JLP. Notice the modus operandi of the Jamaica Labour Party. Whenever they are in power, development one. Notice the PMP. Whenever they are in power, all coffers are empty. Neighbor, it is instructive to highlight that between 1962 to 1972, the Jamaica Labour Party built over 20,000 houses. It is instructive to highlight, neighbor, that between 2016 to now, the Jamaica Labour Party built over 40,000 houses. It is also instructive to note that between 1989 to 2007, the People's National Party built 46,000 houses. 18 years and 7 months, and they did nothing. It is projected that by 2031, the Jamaica Labour Party would have built over 146,000 homes for Jamaicans. We are doing better because it is the Jamaica Labour Party. Jamaica only does well for all its people when it's the Jamaica Labour Party that leads government. And so you came here tonight, and I hope that you learned something. And anything you don't understand, go and do some research. Nowadays, you don't have to type in nothing. Just press the mic and ask Google to give the information. And Google will find you and read it out to you. Do research, people. Stop making the PMP trickle up. I want to stop, pay attention to Marvin. Marvin just try to launch him in cryptocurrency. So we better get out of the purse, because he is another crook. Walk good, patriotic Jamaicans. Continue to hope, continue to fight, continue to fight for the progress of Jamaica, because the progress of Jamaica benefits all of us. Be a true patriot. Always hope for the best for your country. Now follow PMP and go launch protest in the next man foreign country against your own country. Be a strong, progressive patriot and look out for the best for your country. Bless upon yourself. Have a good night.
Fantastic. That's got protecting Jamaica, and that is what is going to bring us to the close of our program tonight.
Equal rights and justice. when you hear the bell.
Well, it was a great program tonight. It was my pleasure bringing this program to you. Was very difficult to produce. I did a lot of work today, getting this program ready for you tonight. Just want you to know that your contributions are what keeps us going night after night. And if you are mindful to send a contribution to us to assist us with our production cost and our taking care of the various costs that it takes to run this program, 954-635-8732. 954-635-8732 is our Zelle account. Your gifts are welcome, whether it is a rose, a donut, a whale, a lion, a money gun, whatever it is. We welcome that. And if you are over there in the United States and you want to send us a gift, 954-635-8732. As I said, there was quite a bit that we put into today's program to make sure that we had it ready for you. We would love to have given you videos, but of course we're not there yet in terms of the various editing equipment that we need so that we can do that. So if you want to sponsor the program, if you want to share in the building out of our studio, 954-635-8732. Give us greater capacity to do more. Give us greater latitude so that we can do more, to produce more programs and to produce better programs for you. We have Cash App. The information is on your screen. Why don't you take a time right now and send us a gift? Let's play this again and come right back to close the program.
Equal rights and justice is our everlasting song. Unity and progress will make our nation strong. Stand up for your rights when you hear the bell. Stand up for justice, hear the freedom bell. Remember Buster Man, he served you well. Stand up, Jamaicans, when you hear the bell.
By the way, Sheffrin, I'm coming to you.
Sure, neighbor.
Stand up for your rights when you hear the bell. Stand up for justice, hear the freedom bell. Remember Buster Man, he served you well. Stand up, Jamaicans, when you hear the bell. Stand up, sons and daughters, your only hope is in the bell. God will guide our progress and make our nation strong. Stand up for your rights when you hear the bell. Stand up for justice, hear the freedom bell. Remember Buster Man, he served you well. Stand up, Jamaicans, when you hear the bell. Stand up, Jamaicans, when you hear the bell.
All right, Caroline. I hope you are doing okay. All right, listeners. So what I'm saying to you is that we are doing a little bit of expansion. We need your support to take care of a few things, and we're asking you to go to the Zelle account and make a contribution to the Politics Plus Network program at 954-635-8732. Post that for me, Blueberry, and my listeners. We're asking you to support us to make sure that we continue to improve the offering. Shafreen, do you have any polls over there for us? Any? What are the listeners saying?
Well, yes, neighbor, I do. So I had one poll and two quiz. I wanted to see if people, how familiar people were with Papa Eddie, aka, the most honorable late Prime Minister Edward Seaga. So the first question is a poll question. It says, "What best describes Edward Seaga?" The choices were visionary, nation builder, reformer, and all of the above. Majority of the persons chose all of the above at 58%. The second highest was visionary at 29%. Third was nation builder at 11% and reformer at 2%.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And for me, he was all of that. He was all of that and a bag of chips for me.
Wow.
Yes. Because
So you
I remember
yes.
living during his tenure and how Jamaica's economy was so strong. There were so many, there was a lot of manufacturing that was going on, and it wasn't only just in manufacturing for in the country, but we exported a lot of things. We had a strong dollar, and our market was pretty good and competitive. So we did, I saw that as a child under his leadership.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the next one is a question, it's a quiz question. Which area was particularly associated with Edward Seaga's political career? And if you were listening to Neighbor and everyone else who contributed, you would know this. Most people got it right. West Kingston, 87%. So yes, he was big on, that's where he represented most of pretty much his entire career, as far as I know, while he was prime minister, and even afterwards, when he was no longer prime minister, he was still representing West Kingston. And I know he was very down to earth. He was always among the people in Kingston, regardless of what was happening. He was there with them. So that was, like that kind of leadership you see with just so few people nowadays, like where they're like with the people who represent them, and they're in the neighborhoods, right, on the ground. And that was commendable. I really appreciated that about Papa Eddie. So the next one, it's a true or false question.
Uh-huh.
Edward Seaga was known for his interest in Jamaican music, culture, and folklore. True or false? And majority of the persons got it right. Yes, it's true. Yes, he was. I remember too, when I was younger, even during Siaga's um, reign, Louise Bennett, she got a lot of support from the from our government at the time too, and she was our ambassador for the Jamaican culture and the Jamaican folk uh, not just music, but even some of our folklore and Anansi stories, you know. Um, and so much, and even the festivals. There were so many festivals when I
Yes.
was a kid. Yes, there were so many. There were festivals all the time, and we got to celebrate our culture so much and so many parts of it. And like I saw at some point where that was not no longer the thing, where some of our parts of our culture were overshadowed later on, like in the early 2000s and such.
Uh-huh.
um was overshadowed by foreign cultures, right? But our culture was really strong during that time, and we were proud of our culture, and we were proud Jamaicans, and we knew the difference between patois and English, and we were proud of our patois. Yes, we were. So just yeah, so he was an amazing leader, and I really appreciated what he did for our country.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Shafreen.
Thank you, neighbor.
Have a great night. Have a great
Neighbor,
night.
neighbor,
Uh-huh.
if I may, for a few seconds before you go,
Yes.
since the listeners are still here, the People's National Party hated Tivoli Gardens. There once PMP Boston. No, it was called Bakawal before Eddie Seaga improved it.
Uh-huh.
It was a PMP enclave. I think one at a time, I think Dudley Thompson was MP down there, something of the sort. I don't remember correctly now. PMP used to run what is now known as Western Kingston. And you know what it used to be, people? It used to be squalor. It used to be a swamp, and people living in the swamp with some zinc up background place and some thatch for the top. And when Edward Seaga went there, visited there, and saw how the people was living, he made them a promise that he would improve their lives if they would trust him. And from the people trust Eddie Seaga, and he fixed up the place. The People's National Party made sure that anytime them in power, them turn pan Tivoli Garden. Look at how the PMP function. They are not about people. They are only about those who will come kiss them ass and join them social club named the PMP. And if you do not join them club, them hate you and them will unalive you. Look at how they have treated West Kingston over the years. How many people knew that what is now Tivoli was a PMP enclave called Bakawal? And just because JLP improved the people in life, PMP turned against them and hate them. I want that to sink into your brains as neighbor close out tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, Protecting Jamaica. Thank you so much. YouTube, thank you for joining us tonight. Catch us tomorrow, 7 o'clock, when we will be right here with you again. Bye bye, Shafreen.